Hitchin now, Johnny? After you moved,
So close to it, I'm in it. Yeah.
so close to it, you're in it. All right. I'm in Bedford, so I'm not too far up the train line from you.
There you go.
Okay, we are live on both Facebook and the Tube.
Oh,
Cool.
hello, internet.
It's happening.
Yeah, welcome to our
Hello, world.
really small listener group, Johnny.
I'm sure it's you.
Specialist.
Specialist. That's what we call us.
Small
Niche.
and, small and intimate.
Just watch your subs skyrocket after this evening's.
Yeah, you'll probably get another 3, maybe even 4.
They will be so welcome and treasured.
What do you mean?
Well looked after.
They'll find out what it's really like, and then they'll be unsubscribing.
Yeah, if you lose followers and you drop Patreon subs, J Fork's in already, then basically you can't sue us. All right.
Noted. I'll notify all the lawyers that we do hire at the Craft Beer channel. Yeah.
Yeah. I figured
Very
you'd have at
noted.
least one. Right then, we're good to go. So, can I do the intro on this one?
Yes.
Because I've got to go give a little shout out to somebody. Well, 2 people actually, but you know. Okay.
I'm just dropping some links into a few groups.
Well, thanks. I was just about to start talking then. I
That
fucking
was
prick.
so well timed. That was amazing.
Swear to God. Fucking beardo. Okay.
When you're ready, Chris. Go on.
Thanks. Twat. Welcome to episode 42 of the Hop Edition, where today we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend. Nobody's actually sure if he exists or not because nobody has seen him in the same room as Batman. It is Jonny Garrett from the Craft Beer channel. He has decided to spoil us lowly pleblings with his presence. Welcome, Johnny.
I
What
don't
an
know how to
intro.
respond to any of that.
That was quite the intro.
Thanks for the question mark.
Woo.
It's all good. So, Johnny's joined us, but before we get to Johnny, and we're going to be finding out what he's drinking, where he gets his haircut, how long it took him to coiffure that beard, all of these things are coming out. I want to give a massive shout out to another Johnny from Brew Tap. Now, I've had some issues with my regulator for a while, and I told Johnny I was going to give him a shout out because he's apparently an avid listener. He's listened to 2 episodes. Basically, my regulator, I got a Mark IV from Kegland. Something went wrong with it, and there's a crack appeared within the unit. I was losing about 50 grams of gas every 10 minutes. So that was a major issue for me. But Johnny, quick as a whistle, boom, is a replacement, Chris. He sorted me out at a very, very good price, I have to say. So if you've got any beer serving requirements and you happen to be in the UK, give Johnny at Brewkeg Tap a shout because absolutely he will sort you out in a jiffy because he's a good lad if he's not surfing, which apparently he does quite a lot. You wouldn't catch me in those waters. There's a bit cold and there's a chance of sharks.
That didn't sound like you're fishing for sponsorship at all, did it?
No, it didn't.
Not at all.
Top tip was it the drip trays at Brewkeg Tap?
Oh, yeah. They're
Amazing.
proper job. They're really,
Proper
really
good.
good.
Yeah, good
And-
finish.
And the second shout out is to Johnny himself for joining back up with us. We had a podcast booked with him previously, but as we always say, family first. Johnny's family came first, so we've reorganized. He's now rohypnoled his wife, his daughter or child is asleep, and now he's ready to get hammered with us for as long as we see fit. Let's see what this boy can drink, shall we?
Well.
It's outstanding. Let's see how much Johnny can drink.
You'll do well tonight.
You definitely drink more than me.
It's not as much as it used to be, I tell you. I had a hangover off 2 pints a couple of days ago.
Outstanding. Were they 15% impies?
Yeah, 11%. Yeah.
Jesus, that explains it.
Yeah,
So that was like 6 pints in 2.
You can get a pass with that then, I think.
yeah, I think so.
Oh, I was struggling today with the. Do you guys ever get like sore calf muscles? Like just, it's almost like they've cramped up for the day, sort of thing.
During
Is
a
this
hangover,
alcohol related or just general?
Yeah,
Like,
I think
what's the
alcohol
context?
alcohol dehydration related. I think.
I believe that's called deep vein thrombosis, and I'd see a doctor.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that took a serious turn. I hope
I'm concerned now.
I hope
No,
your
it's
thighs
fine.
get better, Andy.
It's eased off.
Good. Get back on it.
That's just the blood clot traveling up towards your brain.
You'll be fine. Have another pint.
Just the COVID.
I'd just like to say as well, I have actually used quite a lot of my CBD rub this evening. My back and my knees quite sore. So if I fall asleep within the first 10 minutes of the podcast, somebody just phone me so I can wake up.
All right.
You guys are you're really trying to nail that middle-aged homebrew podcast vibe, aren't you? Calves, knees.
You're getting that. It's bad backs all round.
Oh, mate.
Muscle soreness.
You don't even know what Tricky's been going through today.
Well, just to give you a little bit of background, I've just come off the back of a week away at Butlin. So I've been in, I was describing that as a dystopian beer wasteland to the others just before you came on, Johnny.
What can you drink at Butlin? I know you can get the Big B at Centre Parks, I believe.
There's not a huge amount at Butlin, so Stella, quite a few of the ones that featured in your lager video are available there. Worthington Smooth Flow.
Oh my God, you can't get that outside
highlight.
of Butlin.
Yeah, I know, that was the first time I've seen that anywhere in years.
They brew it themselves.
On tap.
I think the most exciting thing they had was Blue Moon, but that kind of tastes a bit wonky these days as well. And the only other sort of semi-exotic beer that I came across there was a offshore Pilsner or something, which is like a Sharps lager. But yeah, it was pretty bleak, I must say. There wasn't much to be had there. So luckily there was a Tesco's over the road, so I just nipped over and cleared the shelves of craft beer cans over there. But yeah. Anyway,
thank God for Tesco.
Indeed, it was a lifesaver.
You survived, Tricky.
I got through it in the end. But yeah, anyway, speaking of which, what's everyone got in the glass this evening to start us off?
Johnny,
what you got? You want to start us? What are you drinking?
So in the glass tonight, Matthew, I have my first ever attempt at a Pilsner. A Czech Pilsner.
Nice.
So it's pretty much all floor malted Bohemian malt. Plus a little bit of carapils and a tiny bit of melanoid in because I couldn't be asked to do decoction. And then too much SARS. 200 grams of SARS, 100 at the start pretty much and 100 at the end.
Ooh, no such thing as too much SARS.
Well, I mean, I thought that too. But actually, I mean, it's all right because the melanoidins added lots of sweetness, but it's just a shade too bitter. It's probably at about 50 IBUs and it needed to be at 40. But it is actually probably one of the best homebrews I've ever made. So this whole thing about lager being hard to make, if you spend $3,000 on your equipment, less so.
Yeah, defo.
Did you pressure ferment it?
No, I didn't pressure ferment.
You've got the grandfather one, isn't it?
Yeah, so that the grandfather Chronicles can only hold about 2 psi, I think. So yeah, no pressure fermenting. Just it was about 4 weeks at 12. Is it 12? I think. And then lagered it for 6-7 weeks. And then it's been in keg for about 4 weeks, lagering further as I've slowly drunk it. And it's come out pretty beautiful. I've learned some lessons. I'm going to try decoction on the next batch, ready for a Craft Beer Channel video in a couple of months.
So this, you haven't recorded this one?
No, this is practice batch.
Oh, wow.
Because I'd never done a lager, so I was like, I can't go out there and go, this is how to brew lager if it's the first one I've ever brewed. That didn't feel right, so I'm going to do a couple of batches beforehand.
Do you do that quite often? Like do a test batch before you go live for the big one?
Mostly no, because I've brewed those styles a couple of times, so I've dialed in a fair amount of the way. Yep. So it's just sort of tweaking the recipes. But we did it for the West Coast IPA because I'd never brewed a West Coast IPA. I brewed some West Coast Pales, but never IPAs. And then for this one, I should have done it for the 2 Imperial Stouts fermenting behind me. That was some of the hardest, quickest lessons I've ever learned on a brew day.
The Omnipolo one?
Yeah, the Omnipolo collab. So that video is about 2 weeks away. But yeah, generally I go all in because of the previous experience. But yeah, I'd never done a lager because I'd never had proper temperature control really until the deal with Grainfather.
Wow. Yeah,
Nice.
I mean, that sounds awesome. We do have someone in the room who's like, what was it? Award-winning at making lagers.
Oh yeah.
We do, yeah.
More luck than judgment, Johnny.
Go on, tell me about it.
I entered the Lager Than Life competition, which was 4 weeks ago, something like that, at Pillars Brewery. Entered a Munich Helles and placed first.
Wow, congrats.
So, yeah, thanks very much. Cheeky bit of biscuit malt was controversial.
So you went a bit left field and reaped the rewards there, though.
I did. It was pretty straight down the line. Other than that, I did do a little bit of a weird mash kind of thing. So I mashed it sort of half an hour for 64, and then bumped it up to 68. So a bit of a step mash. And it finished out pretty sweet, as I remember.
Did you snuck a Czech yeast in there as well, though, didn't you?
And I fermented it with the Budvar yeast as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks, Tricky, for sending me the
no problem.
Where did you place in that competition, Tricky?
Don't know. Only got the score, so it was rated as a very good beer, though. So
I mean, I've tasted it. It was very good.
You should take that. It was good.
Right.
Anyway, who's going next?
I'm drinking the Northern Monkey, which is it's a lager base with lots and lots of Bramling Cross in it, fermented out with Lutra. It's a hedgerow in the mouth without the thorns. It's rather nice, actually. Lots of blackcurrant and blackberry and that nice, clean, crisp base, and it's cleared up wonderfully well.
Crispy boy.
So, it is now. Originally, when it first went into the keg, after about a week, it really wasn't. But it's really got this. As much as Tricky's going to say pseudo lager, it's actually a really nice, crisp. It's not got the bitterness of like the beer that you're drinking. I didn't put 100 grams in at bittering, but it's got a nice crispness to it with a really sort of soft ending, quite a soft sort of roll of the flavor right at the end of your palate. I like it a lot.
Good.
I'll throw this one to Johnny because I don't think anyone wants to hear me whinging about it. Have you got any views on pseudo lagers with quite yeast, Johnny? That's all.
It's not a lager.
Before you go any further, let's just remember, I'm the one with the power to kick you out the room.
I'll just go over to my YouTube channel and invite the rest over.
Yeah, you should. I'm close to rage quitting.
I understand people's points of view. However, I'm not waiting 6 weeks for a beer.
I mean, I understand that, but just don't call it a lager.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
Well,
so somebody else is calling it pseudo lager.
Tricky calls it a pseudo lager. I call it a beer.
No, you call it a lager. Don't lie.
He definitely calls it a
lager. Not today,
I don't. Outrageous.
Yeah, there we go. So it's a nice beer, though. Very much recommended if you want to really experience what Bramling Cross has got to offer to have a pint of that. It's a good beer. Send me your address. I'll do your beer mail.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'd love a Bramling Cross fake. Come on, hit me.
I mean, don't say that, but I will send you a beer.
It's a Bramling Cross lager. So
yeah, it is. It's a true lager. Anyway, what are you drinking, Owen? Don't tell me.
I'm drinking homebrew, but it's not mine. It's from the man himself, Brit Hitman Harmon from Harmon Brewing, with his QR code artwork. And this is so just to fill you in, Johnny, Brett's a big Star Wars fan, which you might be able to tell from the artwork. Let's have a look. We're going full.
He's going for the. I said going for the hole. I don't want to go there. Going for the. Was it the garbage chute? They tried to shoot it down. I can't remember.
I think so. I think it was like whole X-wing thing. And this beer is it's a New England IPA called Juice from Another Galaxy. So this is El Dorado, Galaxy, and Simcoe New England IPA, and it is a Merc bomb.
Yeah,
Look
it's
at
murky.
And it is thick, and the carbonation just makes this super pillowy. But I'm just getting loads of really overripe fruit on the nose. So it's like overripe pineapple, overripe mango. And there's a nice level of bitterness to it as well. Brett knows how to brew, and that's a real pleasure. So I'm going to thank Mr. Brett Harmon, who's currently
In the
north
chat.
of the border.
He's in the chat.
He's in Edinburgh.
He's in the chat. He's in Edinburgh right now. Good lad. Thanks for the beer, Brett.
Nice one.
Yeah. Andy?
I am drinking the Level Up, which was we did it as a live brew day, didn't we? And it's Andy. What's his name? What was it? Andy
Clark?
Parker? Is that the one that's
Yeah, Andy Parker.
Yeah.
Elusive.
Elusive, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So it's the Citrus Simcoe version. I think I got the kit from Malt Miller at the time. It's the first time in a long time that I actually just bought the kit. It was just easier.
I can't believe you're still nursing that keg. Did it take a long time to?
So I'm getting on to that. So the problem I had with it was just it was just too caramel for my liking. It was just no for me, thanks. So I just stuck it away in the keg and just left it, and now it is proper good. It's that whole caramel over kind of ripe caramel things all tied down, and it's just got this nice kind of citrus and caramel, but in a nice way sort of thing. So it's still quite murky.
Yeah, mine just never really cleared up.
It's never going to clear.
I think Tricky's was the same.
So
I can't remember what yeast I used. It might be just USO 5, I think.
I think it is USO 5.
Yeah, USO 5 is a real bugger to get to drop right.
Yeah, I suppose you could chuck gelatin at it, but it actually doesn't bother me too much.
Doesn't bother me. My keg of it's gone already, so
There you go. So yeah, that's what I was drinking.
yeah, it's a decent beer. I think I did Citrus Simcoe. And it was a good combo. Although I don't recall mine being particularly caramelly, so it'd be interesting to compare notes at some point. Andy.
Did you pull the recipe together yourself using stuff that you had, or did you buy the kit?
No, I'm pretty sure I had everything that you needed anyway in stock. But I ended up just copying out the recipe from the book.
Yeah, I ended up just buying the kit.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just me left then, I think. So I've got what is this again? This is a Galaxy and Rawaka sort of West Coasty style-ish. Well, I get West Coast. It wouldn't be West Coast of America, would it? It would be an Antipodean West Coast IPA, I suppose. This is some of the older Galaxy, not the nice fresh stuff that I bought from Brewed the other day. So it's got the West Coast bitter vibe from it, but maybe a little bit too much with the Galaxy, and it's got a little bit of a slightly earthy, grassy note from those as well. So it's decent, it's all right, but yeah, the Galaxy's not quite.
What year Galaxy is that, Tricky? Is that the 21?
So this would have been the 2020 or 2019 crop, I think.
Okay. So it's not the tropical.
It's not the really nice smelling bag of stuff that I literally just got through the post. So I'm really looking forward to actually brewing with those, because the Galaxy in previous years has been a little bit of a letdown, to be honest. So but it's okay. It's just I put it in put the Galaxy into this beer more in hope than expectation, I think, to be honest. So
could I just say, can we call that a pseudo West Coast? Just
you could, yeah.
I think Johnny's finally understanding that this podcast is all about shots fired.
You won't let it go, will you?
No, like a Rottweiler on a bone.
Yeah. I think most West Coast beers are pseudo West Coast in the market at the moment.
I would agree with that, to be fair. Yeah, it's definitely it's a style that's being bastardized in quite as regular a way as the New England IPA was bastardized when that came out. It's very much being dragged in many different directions. I've had a few after everybody started talking about the resurgence of the West Coast, and I would agree with that most definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
evolution.
there's a
though, isn't
pretty
it?
wide scope, isn't there? I guess.
It's evolution. I've got something exciting for the commercial break. Talking of West Coast IPAs.
Well, we need to get Johnny talking then, so that we can get to the commercial break.
Yes.
So, Johnny, tell us, how did you get into homebrewing?
Oh, well, I've got kind of two genocide.
Genocide.
Genocide. We'll go with that of homebrewing. The first one was we started the channel in 2013. I don't know whether you guys know the history of the channel, but Brad and I used to work for Jamie Oliver.
Yeah, seen that. Yeah,
in his creative team. So Brad was and is a graphic designer and animator. So he was working on Jamie's TV shows and stuff like that, doing the animations. And I was on his online team, so I edited his website and did some other bits. And we started the channel when he started FoodTube. We were like, well, suddenly he's got this YouTube studio set up in his offices, so we'll just start using that and talk about beer. So pretty early on, we were like, we should do some home brewing on here. And so weirdly, Jamie's the agency we were using for SEO, one of the guys that worked there was into home brewing. So we just called him up. His name was Luke, and he said, "Yeah, I homebrew. I'll help you out with it." So we did our first ever homebrew. The first ever homebrew I did was on Jamie's TV set. It was an extract ESB, and it was so much fun, but fucking awful. The result of the beer was just horrendous.
How many bags of sugar went in, Johnny?
I can't remember the bags of sugar. I can remember lots of things that feel weird now. Like we got it was a partial mash because we did the partial mash, and I think the bag split, or we accidentally didn't seal the bag enough. So we got grains into the boil, and we thought we got them all out, but we hadn't. So we then went into the fermenter and then had to put it back into the vessel, into the kettle, the saucepan, and strain it again because grain had got into the fermenter, and it was all a mess. And it stalled. The fermentation stalled, but at this point, Luke, we couldn't get Luke back. So we just thought that was how it was supposed to be. I reckon it probably finished at 10:30 or something bonkers. We were like, "Oh, it's a bit sweet," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think that's right, guys." And then while I was out of the room, somebody gave it to Jamie to try. So then Jamie thought we were fucking morons. He was like they filmed it, and you can see him going, "Oh, aren't you clever?" So that was the first time I homebrewed, and I was like, "There's more to this than what we just experienced." So
yeah.
I bought one of those shitty pressure barrels that constantly leak, and did some pure extract ones with. Well, I pretty much made Sierra Nevada clones in my kitchen for 3 or 4 batches, just cascade.
That's a great place to start.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I that would be my tip to anybody starting. Just try and recreate Sierra Nevada Pale with extract until you learn. You learn the processes and you learn where's best to ferment in your kitchen if you haven't got temperature control. So I did that for a couple of batches, and we got given a grain father. As just completely out of the blue, we went to London Craft Beer Festival, one of the first ones, and Grainfather were there. And at the end of it, because I'd asked enough questions about what the Grainfather did, they said, "Just take this one. It's dented to fuck," and they used it for hundreds of different trade shows. So they just gave me the Grainfather. So I sort of go to a beer festival, come back, and my girlfriend's like, "What the fuck have you got off the street?"
You literally pestered them into giving you a Grainfather.
Yeah.
Is that the one you used? Is that the one you used all that time?
That's the one we used right up until about 9 months ago. Yeah.
That had some vintage.
It really does. It's seen not as many brews as I'd like to say it saw. It probably between 2016 when I got it and where are we? 2021 when we'd have got the G40. It's probably brewed on 4 or 5 times a year. The actual obsession with homebrew started in lockdown. With the video where we tried to make cask ale at home. So yeah, I'd miss cask ale so much, and I was
That's
sick
your
of it.
fault.
Yes.
Right there.
We all ended up with handballs.
Everyone.
Yeah,
pretty
we've
much
all
off
got
the
one.
back of that video, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I
that
think
is
most
so
of
good
us
to
have
hear.
actually brewed the 5 points recipe as
Oh,
well. So
which is amazing.
I haven't. I
yeah.
don't like photos.
Well, me and check it out.
come on.
Well, yeah,
You
okay.
can use other hops. Get some Bramling Cross in there.
You
Maybe a
could.
Crike yeast. Fuck it.
The Malt Miller's
I have
version
made
of
bitters.
BrewCon with
I have made
Centennial was
bitters, just
amazing,
not that
actually.
one.
So,
Do you know something?
yeah.
The more this guy talks, the more I like him. Like, use whatever you want.
Keep going,
Why
Johnny.
fucking use that? It's
There you go.
fine.
There's your next subscriber.
You could have watched the
Yeah.
videos in advance and found out
Watch
already,
two
Chris.
videos.
I could have done. I don't have time. No, it was. I agree with you, mate. That's a cracking way to go.
And I mean that. So I chat to Malt Miller quite regularly because we still do the kits every homebrew that we do, and that's by far the most popular. Like we've done Russian River, and I thought that one is going to fly off the web shop. And they're just no, the best bitter one is the one that still sells the best. And I still weekly get emails from people going, "Where did you get the hand pull from? Are you sure that bag in box isn't going to explode?" And the answer to the second question is no, I'm not sure.
I can't guarantee anything.
Yeah.
If you overprime that, I'm pretty sure that's going boom.
You know, someone has. At least one person has already done that.
Actually, amazingly, it wasn't my homebrew. I got sent like during lockdown. Craft Beer Channel got sent unreal amounts of beer to the point where I was just putting it on my stoop.
Yeah,
just cases of beer, just saying free to take. But Fuller's sent me a full 20 litre of ESB. And I was like, I live in a one-bed flat with my wife who doesn't like bitter. The fuck am I going to do with 20 litres of ESB, which it says once you tap it, you have 3 days?
Yeah, 3 days. Yeah.
Gonna have one hell of a party.
Yeah. Could have been one hell of a Craft Beer Channel video, I tell you. But
in lockdown, where you're not allowed anyone else around as well. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly that. So that actually exploded in my kitchen.
Like Johnny's 14-hour live stream.
Did you get the spigot through the ceiling?
No, well, because it was just the Vitop.
Okay.
Oh, the bag.
Vitop the baggies. Yeah.
Is this one of the reasons you end up moving? You just completely totaled the kitchen, so it's
we
time
did.
to
I
go.
mean, so the kitchen is laminate, so that was all right. It was sticky. Oh
Yeah.
boy, was it sticky for a while.
Oh.
But it got onto the carpet in the hall. So we put like some stuff down that's supposed to suck up like sticky liquids, something professional cleaners use, and all it did was stain the carpet, but it stained it beige like the rest of the carpet. So we were like, oh, okay. Well, we'll just leave that to age out and look exactly like the carpet, and yeah, we got our full deposit. So
sounds like a bonus.
That's all right. Not bad.
Yeah, it's all right.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, that cask ale video was. I mean, actually, it's the start of homebrewing again for me. So since then, I've probably done a batch every 2 weeks, pretty much.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Just been
hammering
loving it. Well, actually, no, that's a lie because I then moved house, so it disappeared for 4 or 5 months. But
Yeah.
other than that break, brewing all kinds of stuff, and it also changed the fortunes of Craft Beer Channel as well because bringing in that homebrew audience. Because we kind of plateaued, we'd stopped growing in terms of subscribers and views, and we're trying to work out what was next for Craft Beer Channel, especially because we couldn't travel at that point.
Yeah.
So we thought we'll give homebrew a go. We've got this great idea of Johnny being desperate for cask, and I think that video between the two of them's now sat at about 150, 200,000 views maybe between the two of them. And it just brought all the people that watch like Clawhammer Supply. God, what's his name? The guy that does all VO, David.
David Heath.
David Heath, yeah, David Heath. Like I think we tapped into that audience and got a whole new bunch of people that then were like, "Hey, we'll watch a 20-minute travel documentary as well."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big moment for us without realizing it.
Because it was kind of like you get all these kind of behind the what the brewers, all the different processes, all the little golden nuggets of information. Like when you did the interview with Vinny at Russian River, it was like you released a separate one, the full kind of interview thing, and it was just like this guy's just giving out loads and loads of amazing knowledge here. So yeah, it's awesome.
It was like Brad and I had a long conversation because we had this full hour interview, and we like YouTube's attention span, we've already learned is
Mhm.
if it's over 15 minutes, you're really going to struggle. So we were like, I can't just chuck this down the bin. It doesn't really fit on our podcast, which is very, it's very entry level. So yeah, it's just like, we'll just put it out as the whole thing and just not, just have it as a click through for people that want to watch it. And it went down so well. I was like, well, we'll just put it as a main video. And now it's at like 7,000, 8,000 views, which for an hour of two people just like literally talking about mash thickness. I can't believe
I think
it's been watched.
There's no depths to homebrew nerdery.
No,
I think
that's something we were naive about. That we forgot the level of interest that homebrewers have and how deep they'll go to, just go up 3 or 4 points in efficiency and stuff like that. I mean, I do that, so I don't know why didn't think other people would.
I think it was was it not the Munich malt as well, swapping the crystals from Munich, because that was a kind of switch for the West Coast, the modern West Coast anyway. Yeah,
it is really interesting. As soon as I started talking to other brewers about that, loads of them were like, yeah, we switched to Munich ages ago. And it's like, but all of us sort of beer writers, journalists, we're all still saying, oh, it's got crystal malt character.
But
it's almost certainly Munich malt character, yeah.
Which I guess is just that like slight caramel sweetness.
Yeah, it's sort of less sort of, I think of it as like less hard candy sweetness than crystal, but it's so close as it kind of makes no difference in the context of everything else and avoids that oxidation risk. Well, it doesn't avoid it. You still like
just reduce.
Yeah, reduce it. Yeah.
Yeah, because all I found interesting was when was it Jimmy at Unity we spoke to, and he was telling us about, we were talking about the different types of Munich malt, so like different different maltsters, and he was saying the crisp one that you used is the best one because it gives that nice kind of sweetness in it. I think he was saying, is it Maris Otter that's been then kilned or whatever it is to get that. So
yeah, I think so. I think I have to give a big shout out, certainly at the start, to Malt Miller, who I would send like what malts I want, and they go, these are the best ones. So I've learned, and also we did a big video with Crisp last September about Hannah Malt and getting a tour of Crisp. We learned so much about malt because it used to be in my homebrews. It literally used to be, I need this malt, this malt, this malt, this malt. And not really thinking about the suppliers, not really looking at the specs of them at all. And that's probably, other than avoiding oxidation, been the two biggest lessons I've learned in homebrew. Like, care about what malt suppliers and varieties you're using, and it will make a lot more difference than you'd expect it to. Like, not quite on the level of hop varieties, but it definitely does make a huge difference.
Well, especially things that you're talking about now, the lager, and you says you'd used the Bohemia?
Yeah,
Bohemian Pilsner. Yeah. So that stuff's just is insane.
We're all big fans here.
Big, yeah.
Yeah, I think
it's a great malt.
It's expensive, but it's so worth it.
What is it like the malt? It's like 65 quid.
Yeah, it's reached 60 quid a bag, unfortunately, but you get what you pay for, don't you?
Yeah.
Did you get that for free then, Johnny?
Yeah, we do get that for free. Yeah, most of the stuff we get for free is all from Malt Miller. They don't even ask for a kickback. They're just delighted that we're sort of promoting homebrew on CBC, but we do the packs with them sort of in return, and they sponsor our podcasts as well. But yeah, they just love to see it there. And occasionally, like Yakima Chief gave us the Yakima Chief gave us the hops on the West Coast thing. Actually, I did have one at lunch as well. So
clearly not.
We'll let you off.
No. Yeah.
So we're very privileged in that, and it makes me, I always wonder how realistic we're being. Like when we're doing a New England IPA with 25 grams per liter. I think our New England IPA kit, my brother brewed it, and because I was like, yeah, we did a New England IPA kit. Do you want to try it? And he's like, yeah, I'll go buy it. And he bought it.
How much?
It was like 65 quid for a bucket, like 19 liters. Something I'm just going to oxidize anyway. It's like, okay. Sorry.
You've got to be reasonably confident in your process and homebrewing skills to tackle that one, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably, until the Imperial Stout brew behind me, that was the most technical I've done by a long, long way. And I brought all that into the West Coast one, which is probably actually maybe a little bit more technical because you're also looking at clarity as well. But but yeah, it's a huge waste of hops if you mess it up.
Yeah.
So are you enjoying the journey through the world of homebrewing then? You sound like somebody who gets his teeth into the technical aspects of stuff. So are you really enjoying the growth and the understanding and the learning that's involved with the homebrewing side?
You know, it's really weird. Every time I say, you know, on Tuesday I'm brewing, my wife sort of steels herself for the day because she knows that she'll hear some giant swears coming from the shed as I you know, miss my OG and something goes south with the Grainfather, like I'm doing the whirlpool and knock the filter out, which luckily is really hard to do now. But with the G30, oh my god, it was a nightmare. So I mean, I love how it's like, I think a lot of hobbies, you know, there's frustrating elements to it, but the joy is when you learn that and you improve on it, and the next time you do it, you're that much better prepared and you know it. Like that kind of growth is just, there's nothing I love more. I see it like, I've talked about this with brewing as well. It's sort of like marginal gains, like the principle they use at Team Sky in not Team Sky, sorry, Team GB in the cycling. It's like you do 10 things that make it 0.5% better, and you end up at 5% better, and you beat everybody. And that's sort of what I try to do each time. I don't have enough time really to keep going back over batches, which is probably the biggest issue with the fact that my hobby is my job. I can't, you know, go back to that West Coast and keep tweaking. You know, I was 80% happy with it, and it reached the point where if I put that recipe out there, an even better homebrewer would come back with a 10 out of 10 beer. Like I knew that me and Vinny had come up with a 10 out of 10 recipe and process. It's just actually converting that into reality.
Execution rather than preparation.
Exactly that. Yeah, we had the prep perfect for anybody that can take it on. But yeah, I mean, I'm totally addicted to that, like well down that wormhole, all over all of the forums, and a lot of the books I never thought I'd read as well. I'm suddenly picking up.
Have you read the Water book?
I haven't read the Water book yet. No.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in for a treat with that one.
Has anyone read the yeast one?
You can get a sneak preview of that by listening to our 4-hour podcast on
episode 5.
Yeah,
episode 5, mate.
There's no book that can rescue the water of North Hertfordshire. If you, the Grainfather have just released their water calculator. It's in beta on their app. And the first thing that it says is like, put in your water profile, and that tells you how much you need to water it back with like distilled or bottled or purified water. And the distillation rate it recommends for me is 97%. I was like, cheers, Grainfather. I'll just go buy bottled water then.
What it's saying is, don't even bother using it.
Yeah.
No, hold on. You need
Are you Anglian water by any chance, Johnny?
No, I'm Affinity, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you're not that too far away from me, so I imagine it's pretty similar to my water profile.
It's the hardest fucking water.
RO filter all the way.
Yeah.
Or
the Grainfather app
of
just says buy an RO system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the next thing you'll need to go and do is get an RO.
Well, I've just found out. So I put so we have our Discord forum, which sorry, my glycol chiller's just kicked in. Hopefully you guys can't hear that too loud.
That's right.
It's good background noise. It's relevant background
noise.
Topical.
Exactly. Yeah, so we have a Discord forum where our Patreons get to join. So it's like $2 now. You can go in, and we've got a huge homebrew section with some amazing homebrewers. One guy who is obsessed with Norwegian farmhouse beers and brews the most amazing stuff. But so in there, somebody pointed out that in Stevenage, not far from me, there is one of these kiosks you can go to, which just dispenses distilled water by the liter, and it's like 10p for 5 liters of distilled water. So what I'm thinking is when I do my lager episode, it might be a really nice thing to do to say, like, you know, because these dispensers are all over the country, just to be like, you can go down to one of these and get, you know, you'll spend 40p and get all the water you need rather than chucking 20 bottles of plastic into the ocean just to get a decent enough water profile. So RO machine maybe, but first I'm going to try and get sponsorship with these water distillers.
If I were you, if you really want to improve your lagers and take them to the next level, then I would get an RO. I really would.
I thought you were going to say use quite yeast.
Does that not go without saying?
Yeah, Lucha,
Get some
I
Lucha
hear is
in it,
very
yeah.
good. I personally, I would say the RO system was like a game changer for my homebrew.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I was just lucky.
Yeah, you're in Scotland. Go away, Andy. But
Yeah, Andy has RO water that comes
Well,
out the tap.
It's
When I first
yeah.
when I first got the RO filter, I think I did like probably about 4 or 5 videos just because I was so excited about what a difference it made to the lagers and stuff, and it was just like, this lager's great, this one's great, this one's also great, and it was pretty much just the water that changed it.
Do you know what? Hold up one second. Tricky.
Mm-hmm.
When I came on here tonight, I thought I recognized you.
Yeah.
And I think you might have taught me to do close transfers on YouTube.
Probably did.
I have got a video on that.
What a fucking surprise!
That's Tricky's catchphrase.
It's just dawned on me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there is a bit of content on, dudes.
I bet.
A bit. He's a good lad, is Trick. He likes to pretend he's not, but he's an absolute geek.
I don't think there's any pretense of me not being a geek whatsoever. This is literally the Beer Geeks Club online here, isn't it?
He gives it the I'm all cool with my zip up hoodie and all that shit, but he's a geek.
I didn't realise zip up hoodies were that cool.
Yeah, that's news to me.
If you wear a zip up hoodie, you're
Yes,
basically
Andy.
saying I'm a hipster. That's what you're saying.
He's going
I think
for
it's
the
just
hipster
saying
beard
sometimes
thing.
I'm cold, sometimes I'm hot, and I want to get between the two quicker.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just get a balls heater. That's what you need. But
No one needs a balls heater.
everybody needs a balls heater. Now, just to take it from the homebrewing side into more of the YouTube side. So when it's pretty obvious to me how you got into YouTube, because it's the de facto place to put out content. But when the video that I watched, the one video I watched,
Thanks, man.
I
I hope you watched the advert. I hope I got paid for that one.
No, I don't have adverts. I've got Brave.
He's got ad blocker on, hasn't he? or
Yeah,
something?
always. I'll join your fucking Patreon. Give up. But the way in which your videos are edited and the whole storytelling style that you have, how did you come up with that? Because I get that you were in the media world before you came into the media world yourself, if you get what I'm saying. But how is it that you came up with the storytelling style and the way in which you edit your videos? Did you watch a load and decide that was cool, or did you sort of learn that at university or something?
I think there's a couple of influences in that. The first thing was that the reason we thought that a YouTube channel like the craft beer channel was a good idea is because no one was doing it. So I've been watching, Real Ale Guide, Hop Zine, what was the American guy's name before he stopped? Beer Geek Nation, and all of those guys who were reviewing at home. And I was just trying to get into beer in like 2010, 2011 and hadn't seen a fucking brewery on any of these channels, basically. And I was like, I want somebody to go to a brewery, show me how it's made, what it's made on, where it's made, who the people are that are making it. So that's what we did. One of our first ever videos was a tour of the original Camden Town Brewery site. I recommend you dig it out because my presenting skills, fuck me, were terrible. There's a moment where I'm just staring into the camera. It's Mark Dredge, a great beer writer, giving us the tour, and I'm just staring into the camera, and Mark's talking at me like this. And I look back at it now, going like, "What were you doing, Johnny? Like, you don't have to stare at the camera. When have you ever watched somebody in a documentary just be like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, bud. Yeah, thanks." But yeah, so that was sort of the impetus behind it. But the actual, I guess the format came from two things. One is watching Jamie work, watching his sort of travel and food things. So like Jamie's Italy, where he'd go, he'd specifically meet people, they'd cook together, kind of almost live together for a couple of days and tell the stories of it. And then more directly, the best YouTube channel in the world, French Guy Cooking, who I'm now very, very lucky to say is a friend. This guy, Alex, lives in Paris, and he does super geeky YouTube videos where our whole homebrew concept is based on his cooking concept. So he'll pick a dish, he'll go, you're probably cooking this wrong, or I don't know how this is done. So I'm going to find out, I'm going to speak to the experts, then I'm going to show you how to do it at home. So he's done that with like really complicated things. Like he's done dry aged beef, so we built a dry aging machine, which was a very similar process to building like a fermentation fridge, but you also had to dehumidify. And then he's just finished a series on dried pasta. So like trying to champion dried pasta because everyone thinks fresh is better. And the Italians are like, no, they have different purposes. So he goes to like an artisan dried pasta maker and he tries to make the ultimate carbonara and realizes it has to be with dried pasta. And so just the way he edits, which is the story behind a dish that results in you knowing how to make it, has sort of been the impetus behind everything. So we've got the Jamie or the Anthony Bourdain travel stuff, and then we've got the French guy cooking homebrew stuff.
I love Anthony Bourdain. I love his stuff. I know he's passed, but oh my god, that dude was awesome.
Rest in peace. It's almost like effectively a tutorial, Jonny, but wrapped up in a kind of more story told way, right?
Yeah, I mean, the main reason we went down that route, the main reason we took inspiration from Alex at French Guy Cooking is because at that point we had about 70,000 subscribers. We did a survey and we found out that about half of them were homebrewers. So when we started thinking about doing homebrew content, we were like, if we do this, half of our subscriber base aren't going to give two shits, or if they are interested, they're not going to understand what's happening because we're going to start at quite a high base. We didn't want to go in and be like, here's how to make a cooler box mash tun, because as Tricky has probably done one already, and so has probably most of YouTube. So we wanted to do something story-led so that even the people that didn't homebrew would be interested in it. And I think that's worked mostly. I think sometimes we've got it a bit wrong. I think certainly, if it hadn't been Vinny, if it hadn't been Russian River talking, the story of that one might not have been quite compelling. We were kind of trying to say, we're going to teach non-homebrewers what West Coast IPA is, and we're going to teach people who love West Coast IPA how to brew it. And when I look back at that video, I'm like, actually, all we did was nerd out about how good Vinny is at brewing and how difficult it is to do these things. So it's a really tough line to sort of tread, trying to appeal to homebrewers and non-homebrewers.
And kind of tricky doing the content during COVID when you were having to do a lot of stuff via video chat, almost in this format we've got right now, versus you going to actually visit a brewery and talk to people in real life.
Yeah, I mean, that cut both ways. So we couldn't go visit. I mean, actually, I could visit 5 Points. They just opened up in time. So I got to get Greg to taste it. But in some ways, it unlocked it because I think lots of businesses were looking for ways to market themselves and be out there a little bit. So, whether Vinny would have had the time or inclination to speak to us, when his brewery was at full flow, probably had Pliny the Younger coming out and all this kind of stuff, it might have been a bit tricky. So it was kind of a blessing that lots of brewers were like, yeah, we'll do a Zoom thing with, I mean, Vinny knows us, Vinny's watched our stuff and we've met him before, but I still kind of think that any other time in our history, he'd have probably been like, I'm really sorry, guys. I just can't find the time, or maybe Siren would have been like that, or any of the sort of the big guys we've managed to get hold of. And I think, I don't know, we're one of the few businesses, I always hesitate when I say this, we're one of the few businesses that have benefited from COVID, I think, because it's made us re-look at everything that we make. It's made us force ourselves to find different formats. Like that lager tasting one that you mentioned earlier, that was an idea we had during lockdown and just never had time to do. And then at the end of lockdown, I was like, we didn't have some content. So I was like, this is why, that's why I knew what the beers were. Cause I was like, literally the day before the video was supposed to go live, I just went out and bought every lager I could find. So we took a bit more time over the second one and somebody else bought it so that I didn't know. Yeah. And that's the biggest video we've ever done. It's at 600,000 views. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's insane.
And that was because COVID inspired us gave us that idea pretty much.
Well, I mean, that's the way to hit the target market, isn't it? If you do something which is easily accessible to everybody, then you're going to grab views from just about everywhere, which is a good one, I think. Yep. So the next one, and this is very, very relevant, is talking about your collabs with Vinny and everybody like that. how do you manage to get access to all of these cool breweries? Because, you know, that sounds like a proper blast.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to answer because probably what the answer is some of the breweries will look at our reach and go, you know, marketing wise, this is worth doing. But I think from conversations I've had with most of the people we've spoken to, is that they've just been genuinely interested in the angle that we've had.
So they approach you.
Sometimes, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, on the Poyo, who we were there a couple of weeks ago, Henoch has been asking us to come over for a long time. As soon as he knew the church was being built, he was like, I want you guys to come and film there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably the biggest beer nerd I've ever met. And it's kind of funny, this reputation that On the Polo has for like not actually being for the real beer geeks, the Puritans. He is the most beer geeky person I've ever met. And he knew some of our videos. He'd watched them multiple times. So yeah, he asked us to come over. He certainly didn't ask us to do a homebrew collaboration with him. That was us. But I guess, yeah, that's kind of how we got the foot in the door with a lot of the breweries. Like we did quite a crap interview with Vinny years and years ago. So he remembered us from that. He took a look at our homebrew content. I sent him the Verdant one and said, this is what we did with Verdant. Could we do something similar with you? And he was like, that looks like a lot of fun. Let's do it. So yeah, it's coming up with sort of new angles that, because, you know, Vinny's been asked 100 times for a Blind Pig clone, the Blind Pig recipe. But I came to him and said, I want to design a whole new IPA with you and show everybody that, you know, bitterness is important to beer. That was, you know, he was like, so long as we can talk about boil additions for a long time, I'm in. So yeah, I mean, that's why I made in the video, we make a big thing of being like, you could just add them all at the start and all at the finish. But Vinny is adamant, if you add them in between, you develop more complexity in you know, both the actual texture of the beer and in the level of bitterness and how it hits.
I think, we've ended up talking about that on quite a few times on previous podcasts.
Yeah,
so we have
a lot. I think a lot of people have veered between that sort of idea of, like you say, just go for a little at the beginning and then everything else can be whirlpool, and now it seems to be coming back kind of full circle to that. Actually, you're probably missing out on different characters that you can get from the hops by spacing out a little bit in the boil. And we've talked about it a lot, and it's nice to see things like that discussed on videos like your one, where you've got the guy who really knows his stuff sort of saying some of the stuff that we're kind of pontificating on in a lot of the podcasts and things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, they're not famous. Russian River aren't famous for making lots of different seasonals, but I think that they experiment a lot within different beers. And so he was telling me about, you know, different things they've tried with Pliny, you know, hop additions at different times in between the key bitterness and the sort of whirlpool additions and stuff, to see what complexity it adds. Not to the point that somebody would notice it bottle to bottle, but where they'd certainly know it. And off the back of that conversation, I've added mid-boil additions to everything, whether it's New England IPA or the Pilsner I was drinking. Like I think that beer needs that.
Whoa, hang on, Johnny, your glass can't be empty on this one.
Yeah. Well, you keep asking me questions.
Fill it up.
You can't drink and talk.
I've got one more bottle of my West Coast IPA, which could be oxidized to shit by now, but I'm going to give it a go for you.
Oh, let's do it.
Why not?
It's like fucking bottle roulette. Let's go. No, I mean, to be fair, I think there's a really important point, and you know, we've pontificated about the different points within the boil of adding hops and stuff, and you know, we've talked about it, and certain people, specifically Richie Brooks with the N word, and
that was a layered one, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's basically, you get so much more from hops by adding them at different points in the boil, and I think a lot of people, oh, that looks good.
It's not brown, but it's hazy.
That looks dirty.
It wasn't hazy when I bottled it. That's remarkable.
I mean, chill haze.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
my geezer is at 4 degrees. So
again, you need a balls heater. You could just put it on the top for like. Telling you, all of these points add up to. I think Johnny needs a balls heater. But the amazing fact of putting the hops in at different points. Clearly, breweries have been doing it forever and ever. I don't understand why it was dropped. Even in Nipas and the super hazies and the fruit bombs and everything, you do need those different points. So don't you? I mean, I can understand why.
Yeah,
they just want soft and pillowy, but come on,
it's those beer styles that have driven it, haven't they?
It's
Because
just the whole Nipa scene.
high alcohol,
juice, the search for juice,
and then the trying to keep the IBUs down, and inevitably that means pushing more and more towards the end of the boil. But when that then carries over into other beers like your West Coast, where you don't necessarily need to do that, you're probably losing more than you're gaining, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm drinking my like house pale ale, which you guys know. This is version 4, maybe even 5, and I played around with that exact idea, and it has added more bitterness, but I think there's definitely more drinkability to it. I think it's crisper. It makes you want to tuck into another sip.
Yeah,
and it's not lowered the aroma in any way. It's still a huge dry hop, but added just a little bit more interest, I think, to the beer.
If your beer's too bitter, just put a pinch of salt in it. Sorts you right out. I'm not even joking, it actually does. So the opposite, so your taste buds work in opposites. You've got, and the opposite of bitter is not sweet, it's salty. So you put a pinch, if your beer's too bitter, just literally a couple of flecks of salt, drop them in, and the bitterness will drop really immediately, and it will drop quite perceivably as well. Just in case anybody didn't know.
Huh. Useful fact.
Fucking science, bitches.
I use it in. I've used that in cooking with beer, where you've added something that's got a little bit too much bitterness to it, and I know you can dial it back with salt. I've never thought you could do it in a beer because I thought the amount of salt you'd have to add would affect the flavor, but it's just like a little.
Literally, like if you've got fine sea salt, maybe 3-4 grains. That's all you need.
Wow, interesting.
And it works. It works instantly.
I'm guessing brilliant. It just takes the edge off.
It doesn't get rid of it completely.
Which is like enough to go, oh, okay, that's a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, exactly. I did it with some of the American West Coast that I got because they've got like 17 bajillion IBUs in them and a face melting and tooth enamel removing. But literally,
stomach acid.
Just a nip of salt and boom, they become drinkable.
Heartburn.
Yeah, instant heartburn. Mm.
Yeah. Oh, I've had some beers that have given me instant heartburn. Yeah, Stella being one of them. Shite. Anyway,
second in my taste test, mate.
So
it was against some shocking things.
So, Johnny, we're talking a bit about the breweries and stuff that you've had access to, and the list I would say is probably pretty long by now, right? What great tips could you share with us and our audience around brewing generally from the breweries that you visited?
Damn. I think, so my key one, the main one, sort of, if somebody asked me what my brewing philosophy is, it would have been that marginal gains one, which is something I've sort of talked to a lot of brewers about. A lot of the New England brewers sort of see it that way because it's that endless pursuit for juice. It's what can we do to make this just a little bit more like juicier than the brewery down the road kind of thing. That sort of space race that we did have with bitterness in West Coast. So it's definitely that, like brewing the same style at the very least over and over again so that you learn from each one. I think for me is the great pleasure in brewing. If I was a professional brewer, I'd probably be one of those ones that was like, I like brewing the same beer again and again, whereas lots of people are very different. The other thing would be definitely have bitterness in everything. Never subscribe to this New England idea that everything can go in the whirlpool, because like you say, when people talk about New England IPA being unbalanced, it kind of annoys me because so many beers are unbalanced. You try a Creek, and you'll get all these wild out there flavors that aren't really at all balanced. Balanced is relative, right? But even in alambic, there'll be a touch of bitterness. Even though they age their hops, there'll be something there, particularly in like a beer cell where they specifically put IBUs in. There's always bitterness is one of the defining things of beer. So my Pilsners came out at probably around 50 IBU. It was a bit too bitter, but I want to make sure I overshoot the bitterness, never underdo it, because then you end up with kind of a flaccid, flabby
yeah,
thing.
It's just soft and just doesn't want to pull you back in, does it?
Yeah. Flabby is just, I think, the best description.
Flabby beer.
Been
Just
there.
flaps around in your mouth.
Stop talking about flabby, guys. I'm getting all fucking embarrassed here. Okay?
More like hard.
Well, yeah. Ching. Yeah, so if you got any cool collabs coming up that you can talk about us?
So behind me right now, blipping away, I've got not one but 2 Imperial Stouts. I brewed them so they're at 11.09. And I've been dosing them with sugar and dextrose. Dextrose. And one of them has lactose in now. And then we're going to be adding coffee, vanilla, cinnamon, cacao nibs, roasted hazelnuts. Did I say vanilla?
Yes.
Yeah.
Vanilla pods,
Vanilla pods. We've got Madagascan. So actually, one of the things I really learned on the Pollo, and we talk about it in the video, is to make a really great pastry style stout, you've got to source the ingredients well, because that's where the nuance comes in a pastry stout. So actually, I don't think whether it made it in the video, but Omnipoyo have their own team of their own supply team that literally Henok will go, I want this vanilla, and their job is to find that vanilla in quantities enough that they can use it. And there's
sounds like a great job.
It's pretty
cool.
Sounds
like a great job.
Although I think Henok gets to do the travel. So we've sourced impeccably. We've got Dark Arts coffee, Madagascan bourbon vanilla, single origin cacao nibs from Brazil, Piemonte hazelnuts, which I found out 2 weeks ago when I ordered it, are the best hazelnuts in the world.
They are very good.
Are they? Good to know.
I make my own Nutella, so I try to use those hazelnuts in mine as well.
God, tell me the recipe now.
I'll send it over to you.
Yes. Is it dairy free?
Is it hell?
Oh, damn it. I'll find. My wife is dairy free, so we're looking for.
You don't have to make it for your wife, dude. Not everything has to be made with her in mind.
You see, I have a super dry palate, so I don't really eat that kind of stuff or drink pastry stouts, to be honest. But I will be, because I've got fucking 36 liters of the stuff behind me.
Can I just point out, Johnny? I'm going to send you a beer mail.
Yeah,
you need to send one back.
We can all exchange addresses.
Johnny, drop your address into the chat.
No, don't do that. There'll be some weirdo parked outside his house in like about 3 hours.
It'll be me.
Just disappear from the Zoom. Sorry.
Yeah,
we're past Zoom. Yes, we've got that. We've then got we're doing a double New England IPA with Cloudwater.
That's Owen with a stiffy.
We were up there last week talking about the recipe. Motueka is going to start.
Oh, fucking hell yes. I might actually drink that dipper.
Hey, I feel the same about dippers. Like, I do enjoy them, but I never find an occasion to drink them. So I'm gonna be a bit cautious with the ABV. I might dry it out a tiny bit more, make sure there's at least, again, 40, 50 IBU in there. So it's going to be a slightly unusual, not unusual, slightly different New England IPA. But what's quite nice about the recipe, the plan is that, we'll say to people, you can just dial back those kettle additions. If you want 25 IBU, you can just dial that back. It's designed to have more, but you can dial it back. So we're going to be making that point.
Just out of curiosity, what bittering hop are you using in that beer?
We'll probably use CO2 extract.
That's a shame. Because if you want to bring a really nice sort of backbone to go with the Motueka, I've recently fallen in love with it again. I would go with Southern Cross.
Okay.
it works really, really well if you're using Motueka later on to put the Southern Cross in at the start. It's like literally, it's like cheese and apricots. It works really well together.
And Johnny, the occasion for a double IPA is it's breakfast and dinner.
I guess, yeah.
So is that the flex bittering extract that you were talking about? Yeah. Have you used that already before, or
we used it? We used it in the red IPA with Siren. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I actually used a little bit of that in this for the first time and realised it was the stickiest substance known to man.
God.
And just adhered to everything that it touched and wouldn't come off.
It's like earwax, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much the same sort of...
It's kind of like araldite mixed with earwax. Yeah.
Well, shit, Tricky, you've just sold that to me.
I mean, flavour-wise, a little bit different, but yeah, it did the job though. Like as far as like nice sort of clean bitterness and everything like that. So that was great, but it can be a little bit difficult to work with, especially I think in the smaller quantities because you've got those little tiny syringes and stuff, and you've got to warm it all up and everything, and then if it sort of touches the side of the kettle before
what's the benefit?
And it just like sticks on there.
Is the benefit for commercial breweries to reduce waste?
Reduces waste, but also much more reliable bitterness. So
it's consistency, isn't it, as well?
Down to the mill. Yeah.
And I guess perhaps like a less vegetable addition, potential flavour added from the vegetable matter.
Yeah, exactly that. And reduces boil over as well. So it's just it's safety, less wastage, and more consistency and cleaner bitterness. So we used it in the red IPA because we were going for 100 IBU.
Topped it up. Yeah.
So we wanted to reduce the vegetable matter in the boil and make sure we got there, basically. Mm-hmm. And it was also IBU. I wouldn't say this is sort of my top home brewing tip, but IBU is relative as well. So if we'd done a 100 IBU West Coast IPA, like full on West Coast, I think it would have been undrinkable. But because we had so much specialty malt in there, so much caramel kind of notes, when we drank it, we were a little bit like, I'd have taken 20-30% more bitterness, to be honest. So we were really surprised. Either we didn't get the utilization we expected from the later hop additions, or it did balance really quite well. We'll probably use Flex, but maybe some Southern Cross as a 45 or 30-minute edition, bringing some.
It brings a nice lime flavor to the beer, mate.
Okay, interesting.
It's an often underused. Sorry, I'm just replying to a few comments. It's an often underused hop, and a lot of people don't really realize what it brings to a beer. But if you're going pretty much full Antipodean or New World, if you want to use that phrase, in a beer, using Southern Cross at the front end gives a really nice scaffold and that lime essence, that lime backbone that those hops build off really, really well. It works incredibly well.
Interesting.
Yeah. See what Cloudwater think of that.
They'll tell me I'm full of shit and to fuck off.
No doubt.
So I'm not paying for that shit. It's not expensive. It's like 16 quid a kilo for us. So they'll probably pay like £1 a kilo or something.
Yeah.
Just turn up to Cloudwater and just go, I chatted to this bloke Chris from Yorkshire. He reckons.
There's some cross in there.
Yeah, man. And if they tell you that I'm wrong, just give me their address and I'll come down and choke them out.
I mean, you could probably get the address of Cloudwater
off the website
on the internet. Yeah,
home addresses.
Home addresses.
I'm not doing it in front of CCTV, man.
That's sensible. That's sane. Yeah, you're right. I'm being ridiculous.
No, it's a good one. And to be fair, I'm looking forward to that dipper now. So do I find out on your channel when that's being released?
Yeah. Well, I'll BMO you it. I'll send you a pastry stout and a double IPA.
Do you know something? I like this guy a lot. I don't have to subscribe to anything. It's wonderful.
No, I think
I'm going to subscribe, by the way.
You'll probably find out when you subscribe to his Patreon.
Yeah,
that's what it's going to be. And I'm only going to subscribe to his if he subscribes to mine.
That's it.
True.
Yeah.
Deal.
It's not
Get the
happening,
inside
that.
line.
Deal. As long as I get beer mail in return, I want Bramling Cross.
Mate, you'll get beer mail. Don't you worry about that.
Okay.
You'll get beer mail.
It sounds like a good deal.
Yeah.
You're gonna be loading up your porch again.
yeah. As soon as the beer
Bottle
mail
bombs.
arrives, just free beer.
Please
Yeah,
take it
you'll start
away.
regretting it.
No, I expect a full episode of like a beer review from you.
Do you know you're not the only person that thinks that? The number of emails we get from people going, "If I send you my homebrew, will you give me feedback?"
On YouTube.
Well, actually, nobody's ever asked for me to do a video of it.
Well, they have now.
Yeah, Chris just did.
I want all 114,000 of your subscribers to see you review my beer.
Hey now,
If it's-
129, I'll have you know.
Hey, you're on the hop edition now, man.
129 and 3.
Okay, there we go.
We'll just
No,
have a dedicated beer review for all our beer mail, please, Johnny, if that's okay. Thanks.
No, to be fair, anybody
Seems
who's got
reasonable.
the balls to go straight in with a dipper using Motueka as the key hop and being willing to at least entertain the idea of putting Southern Cross in there as well, I'm going to buy at least 4 cans. So everybody's going to profit.
Yeah, that 4 cans will make all the difference.
I'm not sure Johnny's planning on canning it commercially. He's only making 19 liters.
Well, you see, we've we've never had one of our homebrews made commercially yet, but Hennock did say if it's good, we'll make a batch of it.
Nice.
At which point Brad lost his mind, but I calmed him down by saying it's not going to be good enough, Bradley, so I won't worry too much.
Is Brad in that circumstance? Do you think Brad's going to get some artistic rights to the can art?
Maybe he will. I mean, he would maybe die a happy man if he got to collaborate with Carl, because he is. I mean, Carl is an amazing artist, but it's very much Brad's aesthetic as well. I think it was in the video that Brad was wearing the jeans of the company that
He'd started.
that Carl had done the branding for. It was just so weird in that moment, like me with a camera just behind going, what the fuck is happening?
Was he just totally fanboying at the time?
Yeah, totally was. Yeah, it was. I mean, Brad, you know, we have this dynamic in the Craft Beer channel. So like, I'm the uber beer geek, and Brad is sort of the everyman sort of way in for people that are less beer geeky.
Yeah.
So I've never really seen him properly geek out at meeting a brewer, but he was inconsolably excited about sort of the tour. When we went up into the upstairs area where Carl has his studio, it was Brad at Christmas. Like I saw 5-year-old Brad at Christmas in his eyes when he walked into that place.
Aren't we all like that when we go to a brewery, though?
I mean, he sees that in me every time we go to one. So it was nice for me to see that
It
the other way
literally
around.
was the church of beer.
It was.
Yeah.
It is an
Church of
amazing,
beer.
amazing place.
That looked
Yeah,
incredible.
one day, I reckon if we can scrub up the money, we ought to do a hop edition trip to Omnipollo.
It's highly worth it.
If we go to Omnipollo and they've got Palermo on, you do realise I'm dying wherever that brewery is. I mean, literally, I would climb into the fermenter and only get out to pee. I would die a happy man in there.
Johnny, have you had Palermo, which is their sour, their kind of fruited sour that they do?
The mango and something else sour.
I haven't had it, no.
Oh, it was calamansi, lime, and mango or something. It was just insanely good.
I didn't try that one.
I'm telling you, Johnny, it's hard on in can. It's fucking ace. It's so good.
Horrible phrase.
I ordered 8 cans of that, and I don't ever do that for any beer.
Wow.
It was that good.
Well, I hope they make it again, because they tend to move on pretty quickly. But maybe
They do. I think they do kind of rotate the fruit additions. I think it's kind of a standard sour beer that they just rotate the fruit additions on.
Yeah, I think even when they go back to like their best sellers, they generally mix them up a little bit. I think Yellow Belly's pretty much the only untouched one.
Oh, Yellow
Which is now
Belly.
gone.
Yeah, I had that once, and it was impeccably excellent.
It was,
I don't think
I
I've
mean,
had
a
a bad beer
game-changing
from
beer.
them.
It was. Absolute game changer, that.
Yeah. Shall we go commercial? Because I think everybody's sitting there dry at the moment.
I'm not.
Getting a little bit thirsty, yeah.
Johnny, have you necked your West Coast?
I haven't yet, but it's all right. It's lost some hop character. But
Well, I'll tell you what,
it's
Johnny,
not
I'll race
oxidized,
to the end. You ready? 3,
So-
2,
Oh, God. Okay.
1, go.
Right.
I went last on the first beer, so I'll jump in first with the commercial.
Okay.
One of the Tesco beers that I ended up bringing back with me from my trip away is Buxton's Brit hop, which is modern British hopped IPA. I have had this one before, so I have a decent idea of what it's like already, and you can probably guess I thought it was all right the first time because I bought it again. But this is basically a 6.8% IPA, brewed similar in style to most of the other sort of IPAs that Buxton do, but the kind of the marketing shtick with this one is obviously it's British hops, so it's got a range of the newer varieties of English hops, most of which have been bred to try and emulate the kind of fuller, fruitier, tropical, for want of a better word, flavors that you would get in US and New World varieties. So I don't know exactly what the hops are in this, but I've got a feeling that it's probably going to include things like the Harlequin that we reviewed with the Hop Tester beer a few episodes back. Probably Jester, Olicana, maybe. There might be a couple of others, stuff like Mystic. I think that's about all of the newer English hop varieties that I can think of off the top of my head now. But I'd imagine some, if not all of those, have gone into this. And it's hazy, but it's not like Nipa kind of hazy. So it's, yeah, I don't think it's geared towards that kind of murky, kind of hazy style.
Extreme chill haze, we'll call that.
Decent little fluffy white head on it. Yeah, it looks quite nice. So aroma wise, there's quite a bit of malty sweetness and almost like a biscuity note on there. So there's not much, well, there's not really any detail recipe wise on the can, but I would think that possibly there's slightly more traditional sort of English base malt in there, perhaps. So it could be Maris or something like that, maybe. I don't know. From the colour, I would guess they're following the no caramel malt rule for this one. So yeah, I'd expect a fairly simple grist, but maybe some English base malt in there. And like I said, I've had this before, so I kind of know what to expect with the flavour, but this is one of the first beers that has kind of gone towards this sort of new English hop idea, which I think is actually sort of getting more towards that fruity flavour that they're looking for, but still has this very English kind of hedgerow.
Is it getting earthiness?
Yeah, there's a little bit of earthiness in there, but it's not sort of not earthy in the sense of you thinking like Fuggles and EKG and all this kind of stuff going on. But yeah, I always, whenever I'm talking about beers with these kind of hops in, I always come back to this idea of like hedgerow fruits as opposed to sort of tropical fruits.
It's berry, so, the kind of berry fruit.
Yeah, exactly. More like berry. And there's some sort of slightly sharp kind of maybe like gooseberry notes in there, things like that.
It's normally kind of slightly balanced with typically a herbaceous or there's a little, right? Like
when we talk about Talus and say there's almost like a slightly sagey thing on there. There's almost like a little bit of that to it. There's quite more of a sort of stone fruit as well, I guess. If you're going to say there's any kind of juicy notes to it, it would be more of a kind of peach or apricot thing, I think, in there. So peachy apricot, hedgerow fruit, bit of berries in there. It's really interesting. I think it's a really good showcase for some of those new sort of English hop varieties. But I think it's still one of those where it's like don't go into that expecting it to taste like Citra and Mosaic, because they still have this, to me at least, they do still have a distinctly sort of English character to them. But yeah, it's a nice beer, and it's I think it's like £3 a can in Tesco, so it's a decent one to get. 6.8%, especially if you haven't really tried much that's using some of the newer English hop varieties. So it's thumbs up from me. And yeah, has anyone else tried this one yet? Or
No, but I'm bloody well going to.
Sorry, Tricky. I exited for the gents. What beer are you drinking?
Oh, it's Buxton Brit hop.
Oh, okay. No,
Oh, that's all over Morrison's. That's
They got it in Morrison's as well.
Yeah, it's in Murray Bob's, yeah, mate.
Well, it seems to be getting out a few places though.
To be fair, yeah. I think this is a good point to ask Johnny. Johnny, which supermarket do you shop at for your craft beers?
Oh, do you?
Does Johnny pay for any craft beer?
Does Johnny pay for anything? Is he sponsored by Off-Gen?
Actually, the only beer I buy from supermarkets is cans of Pilsner Urquell.
Yep.
I mean, that's a great choice.
And lots of other dodgy lagers for videos.
And yeah, on occasion, some really fucking shit stuff.
Like
so that's Waitrose or Sainsbury.
Okay.
Sainsbury's.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's all independents. I live pretty close to the beer shop in Hitchin, so I'm very well sorted there. And then yeah, I get a lot for free, which is both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah,
if you'll forgive the privilege. A, it's too much, but B, A, it's too much. B, you always get sent fucking glassware with it, which goes straight in recycling. I don't even know if you can recycle it. Beautiful glass, beautiful brewery. And then also it means that I get sent too much, and you're always sent the stuff they're most excited about, that's weirdest, that's biggest. So I have.
You can't stack it.
Well, yeah, that. But it's also just like so many imperial stouts, so many fruited sours. Like I enjoy fruited sours, but I never drink. I'd never session on a fruited sour. I session on West Coast pales and lagers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I end up with a lot of beer I don't love to drink.
So sessionability. Yeah, the sessionability of the beers that you're getting sent.
Exactly, it's very poor. But then, like 5 Points will occasionally send me a case of Best.
And then you're brilliant.
And I feel bad because it's incredibly generous, and you want to give everybody that sends a good beer to you like the dues, but you can't. I don't know. I can't drink it all and live healthily.
Yeah, exactly.
So particularly during lockdown, like I said, I was giving it away because I couldn't even have drinks with friends, and now it's a bit better. But now I'm obsessed with homebrew. I have 40 litres of homebrew in my fridge here, and then probably 50, 60 cans in here, cans and bottles, and probably 200 in my garage.
Yeah.
All of it's aging away. I'd say probably 10% of it should be aged. The rest is just getting worse.
Yeah.
So the plan was, when I moved out of London, I was hoping to have like a drink Johnny Dry, just like friends over and just drink everything and see what it's like, and drink all of the good stuff.
Are you bottling everything at the moment, Johnny, or have you got
I keg everything
set up as well? You got everything on?
Keg everything, and then I bottle like 6 bottles of everything so that I can go back.
So you're bottling off the kegs to sort of clear the last bits. Okay.
Yeah, cool. And to just so that I can go back in 6 months and go, how much oxygen really was there in there?
Yeah.
How are you bottling though?
Oh my God!
Tap?
I just purge it with the CO2 line, and then straight off the tap. Yeah.
So you need to speak to Bull and get a free iTap.
You need an iTap, Johnny.
Not allowed to now. They're a Russian company. They're blacklisted.
They have emailed me so many times, and I've never gone for it because
what?
I mean, there's a couple of reasons. Because every time you accept a freebie, you enter either a literal contract or like a verbal, we will put this on the channel. And if it doesn't suit the narrative, we're just not going to do it. So, we've been offered like full Keyser setups for free. And we go, well, no, because we're going to make a video where we turn this chest freezer into a Keyser. Yeah. So we're turning down stuff like that. And yeah, we haven't got the iTap because I think probably a better video would be to show people either how to make a great bottling setup or that we have made one. Rather than, because we're aware that this fucking setup behind me, I mean, that's a grand. That's
Yep.
400 quid, 400 quid, 300 quid. I mean, that's
The
200 quid,
glycol.
isn't it?
What's the
Yeah.
glycol's a lot of money as well, isn't it? 600
Yeah.
or so.
Johnny,
It's-
ask Andy how much he spent in his brewery recently.
Yeah. Ask Andy what changes he had to make to the fucking wiring in his house when he got a new fermenter.
Yeah. Do you know, so the malt miller only had the 14-gallon unitank from SS Brewtech. They didn't have the 7-gallon. So then I had to get, then when I bought that, then I had to go for, you know, an 80-litre setup on all the kettles and stuff like that. So there was all new pots. What he says about the wiring. So I had to run from there's a distribution board in the garage. I ran a new cable, 6 mil into it so I could get 32 amps. Just absolute rabbit hole of.
And how many days?
How many days after?
What?
How many days after you did all this did they have the smaller one in stock? Was it 3 or 4?
Maybe
Oh no.
2 weeks or something, and then it was in stock. But do you know what? The thing is, right? I love my new setup. I love the bigger. Do you know what? And I find it easier to brew
Andy,
on a bigger scale.
Andy, for $4,500, I should fucking hope you love that setup.
I don't think it was as much as $4,500, was it?
How much did you pay for the unitank? Then the glycol chiller.
I think it was probably more, Andy.
Then the rewiring.
Oh,
Andy,
yeah,
in
that's
kind
right.
in case his missus ever fucking watches this video.
No.
Could be awkward.
No, I'm sure was it. Yeah, because the glycol was what? I don't know. £700-800. Tanks about 12-13. Pots are like 200-300.
The fucking spunding valve's 135 quid.
Yeah.
I know. I still use the Kegland one.
And this is why one of the homebrew myths that we busted previously was homebrewing saves you money.
No,
I mean, that is the
no.
biggest myth. You still get comments on the videos going like, "You're not going to save money doing it that way," and you're like, "Are you saving money doing this?"
I know.
People think IPAs are expensive at £6 a can, and as a homebrewer, you're like, "How the fuck are they doing that?"
There actually is a class of homebrewer that is purely in the game for cheap beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you buy the extract weird tube thing, stick it in a bucket, and
you're getting 40p pints.
Six bags of Demerara sugar.
Yeah.
And you get rocket fuel.
Actually, to be fair, that sounds like my Imperial Stout brew.
Oh, you went with Demerara, you posh bastard.
We just got brewing sugar, but we had to add some dry malt extract to hit the gravity because we missed it.
Oh,
that's standard for an impy, though.
Yeah, that goes without saying, I think.
Well, this is what I'm saying about I wish I'd tested it because we fell pretty short, but we did. Fucking Hennock with his fucking Browcon system goes, oh yeah, you need a 1-to-1 ratio on your mash. So I'm like, okay, I'll do a 1-to-1 mash, and ended up with about 1050 out of 10 kilograms of grain.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh no.
Well, no, I'm exaggerating. We got to 1080. So we were 30 points short of where we needed to be. So the second mash I did at 3-to-1 and got us 15 points short. So like got way over to then, because we were doing a reiterated mash, and then use dry malt extract to get to where we were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think wow. if there's any homebrewer that tells you that they hit their target OG when making an imperial stout, they're fucking lying.
Yeah, never.
MP, no.
They're lying and then some.
Yeah. The grandfather user group, you'll get some people going, oh, I get 90% efficiency.
No, you don't.
Maybe mash efficiency, but not overall brewhouse efficiency.
Wild. I don't even really think they get 90% mash efficiency. Surely. I average. I think I get about 82 on like a simple pale.
I think on like a very low ABV beer where you're sparging it heavily, then maybe. But like, I mean, that's the thing with those higher strength beers, especially in a homebrew setup. Once your sparge is just diminishing to nothing, it just goes off a bit.
70%. Yeah. How you beefy stuff?
I chatted. So after we had the slightly disastrous homebrew, I always do this. Actually, I'll tell you about another story in a sec with the beer I'm drinking. But after that that conversation with Omnipoyo went live, and we did the homebrew, and I put on Twitter that we'd missed our gravity by about 15 points in the end. I got an email from the head brewer at Galway Bay and London Labour, and he was just like, "Tell me about your Imperial Stout mash. I want to hear about the adventures you had as your first ever one." And he said that when they brew, is it 2,000 fathoms? They're amazing Imperial Stout in Teesside whiskey. They get 42% mash efficiency. So I was just like, okay, so my 55% mash efficiency wasn't so bad. He was like, no, you did all right there. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Wow. When your configured expected mash efficiency is like 80% in whatever software you're using, forget it.
Yeah, Brewfather is a real optimist, I tell you.
Yeah. I have discovered with these brewing softwares that anything more than 6 kilos of grain in a 23-litre batch, they are so full of shit. They should be politicians. Seriously, there is no fucking way. As soon as your grain bill goes over 6 kilos, you're in fantasy land if you think you're hitting 80%. It ain't happening.
Unless you don't mind like a 4-hour mash.
Yeah, or a 600-litre sparge or something, and then a 29-hour boil.
Yeah, I mean, I always find like New England IPAs are like, especially like higher ABV ones, are always notoriously difficult to get to. OG just on the mash alone.
Yeah,
I just got to the point where I don't worry about it anymore. I just brew what I brew.
What it is. But you've got to you then adjust your hop ratios and stuff to.
It's a balance. We are better than your booger.
Yeah, because I mean that's a great tip. There's nothing wrong with missing your OG. Just remember to think about your hop profile afterwards. Yeah,
because tooth enamel is expensive.
I rebrewed my competition Munich Helles, and it came out at I think 6.1%.
Whoops!
Whoa!
Whoops!
How'd you manage that?
Is this after one?
Yeah, no, I rebrewed it, and I just I overshot the gravity slightly, and it came out like it was projected sort of top end of BJCP style guidelines at 1054. And then the yeast just finished out at like 10.07 when it should have finished at 10.012. And I'm like, what, 10.12?
So you get super lager.
Absolutely screwed me. Yeah, I've basically got super brew, special brew. I've got Carlsberg special brew.
Yeah, there's a stronger version of Helles, isn't there? You can put it as a Helles Bock, or maybe
Helles Bock.
Yeah.
I've basically made a Helles Bock.
And you made it presumably around springtime.
Oh, yes.
Oh, dear God, yes, you're not. Oh, God, it's a happy calendar. Fucking hell, flyer. I'm leaving. I'm done.
Where's that competition I entered? I need to update my entry.
Anyway, so one person's done their commercial and we're 25 minutes in. So I'm going to jump in right now and I'm going to say, I am currently drinking by Pressure Drop Brewery their Great Heights unfiltered pilsner.
Yes, mate. Great fucking beer.
This is really good.
Yeah.
This is right. I am probably out of the 4 of us who normally do the podcast, I am the lager person. I have discovered German beer and I am not willing to let it go. Because there's a reason why a country has fucking laws about what you can and cannot put into their beer. And
technically the reason is tax, but I'm going to let you romanticize it.
Thank you. Don't. You seriously, you're crushing my dreams. Now, the reality is, this beer shouldn't be as good as it is. Based on what I've read and what I'm drinking, an unfiltered lager should not be this good. I've had Keller beers before that honestly have been terrible. I've had some Keller beers that honestly should not be on pumps. They shouldn't. They should not be being served. They're ridiculously horrific. This, an unfiltered Pilsner, is essentially a Keller beer. We can argue about different parts of it. It's essentially a Keller beer. This drinks so well. It's so smooth. Again, it's got that nice little wisp of bitterness that sits on the end, and the hop flavor is beautiful. I cannot fault this beer. I can't. The only thing I can fault about this beer, I'll be honest, is I've only got one can. Otherwise, I'd be a very happy man. It drinks really well. It's got such a beautiful flavor, and I'm sure a lot of that is yeast that's in there, but it's carbonated well. It's a good beer. In fact, it's a great beer.
I wrote about it in my latest book, that beer, because basically what it's all about seasonality, the book, and that is one of the beers that they brew. So Pressure Drop, they're actually about to do a 4-day week trial, so they take work balance really seriously as a small company.
I need to work for them.
You probably do. And they brew those beers at the start, middle of December, and then they take December off, a huge chunk of January, and come back. So those beers get about 6 to 8 weeks in tank, and they just fill all their tanks with lager and come back out. So it'll be, even though you sort of think of it, yeah. So even though you think of it as a Keller beer, which is generally like a less lagered beer, it does have Keller beer qualities, but it is, well lagered, which is why it's so smooth.
You see what I did there? I even brought in that it's essentially a Keller beer because it's unfiltered. But the reality is, Johnny's just told me that it's lagered for ages, and it's fucking beautiful. If you've never drunk this beer, right, this goes on the Alchemist's big thumbs up list. Get one of these beers. This is banging. And the artwork on it as well is amazing. I don't want to know how much weed the guy smoked who came up with that logo, but Jesus Christ, I want some of it. That's awesome. It's a great beer.
I think it might be in a bit more than weed.
Packaged on the 20th of January 2022. So it actually went into a can over 3 months ago.
Holy shit. Yeah. They're a Pressure Drop, a top 5 breweries in the UK for me, and just aren't really talked about in the same breath as others. But like Alligator Tugboat, their West Coast Simcoe IPA was the best beer I've had so far this year.
Do you know the only reason why I didn't buy that when I made my order?
Why is that?
Because it's got fucking Simcoe in it.
You don't like Simcoe?
Mate, it's cat piss. I'm not having that.
You and I were getting along so well.
Yeah, well.
That's sad.
It's a point of contention between us. All
That's
of us.
sad. That relationship's just gone down the drain.
I'll be honest with you, Johnny. The only reason they have me around is because I can do the streaming.
It's true.
And then obviously when there's when the site gets hacked as well, you can
Absolutely, yeah.
you can turn it off and turn it back on again.
Chris, did you have a can of their Alsatian pills?
It's in the fridge.
Oh, you haven't drunk it yet?
No.
Oh, I had a can of that.
I'll tell you what, I've actually drunk quite a bit of their beer. I've had Tambourine Mountain and Billionaires Should Not Exist. I've got a can of Am I Being Basic in the fridge. They genuinely are. I would agree with you, Johnny. They're a great brewery.
I think we should make a visit to them.
I think we should.
Great tap room in
Opposite the old Beavertown one, is that right? Is that where they were?
Opposite Beavertown.
Yeah. So
Beavertown moved. Yeah, they must have moved on. Yeah.
BrewCon were hosted at Beavertown, and they were just over the road. So that was before lockdown, I think.
Are you going to the London Craft Beer Festival, Johnny?
Sure am.
I may end up hanging the night after the Craft Beer Festival and seeing if their tap room's open on a Saturday.
Oh, it will be. It will be.
That might be worth a trip.
Nobody makes it out drinking the day after the Craft Beer Festival.
I'm fucking lightweight.
I'm
hardcore. I'm from up north. Fuck you.
Yeah, you went home early last time.
I had a train to catch.
He also had me to look after. So
to be fair, I was babysitting Owen. Yeah. There's stories on that one, Johnny. There was a lost katsu curry and somebody passing out on in a hotel room. Yeah, that was a good day. The London Craft Beer Festival last year.
Standard travel events in craft beer channel world.
Oh yeah. You didn't lose your katsu curry over the side of London Bridge, did you?
So no, there was a story. There was a katsu curry, there was some sushi, and there was a bottle of Cantillon And I'm glad to say the katsu curry was the only loss.
Whoa. So you're very, very
So-
drunk, and your drink food of choice is sushi.
I think that probably demonstrates just how drunk I was.
Right. Yeah. It's either you're sober and posh as fuck, or you are really drunk.
Yeah, I think it was the latter, to be honest.
Okay, just to put you into the situation, we're in the back of a black cab. I've got my old boss from where I used to work. We're driving to the pub where I stole this glass from. And literally,
This is a rich story. This is.
and
So
Owen
much
decides that the only way to express his gratitude for the day is to slap me in the face 5 times. Yeah,
I've absolutely no memory of this at all.
literally.
No memory.
When you say he decided, like, did he literally say, "This is how I'm going to thank you"? Or
No, he just looked at
Did
me,
you-
he smiled, I saw the gratitude in his eyes, and then he slapped me 5 times.
I don't think that's gratitude you saw.
No, I
in
don't
his
think
eyes,
it
to be
was.
honest.
Yeah.
I think it might have been the last 45 minutes just hoovering up all of the barrel-aged imperial stouts.
Possibly. While we were all stood outside having a good old chat on the promenade, and you're inside going, "Give me your impies."
Was he shouting, "You will like Simcoe, and it's not a lager," while he was doing it?
No, because you can't reach high enough to slap me, can you, Tricky? Sure.
I said, was Owen saying that? Listen
No,
to
he
the
wasn't.
question.
And Owen doesn't treat me in the violent way that you do.
I think I might have been saying, "I love."
Yeah,
Something along those
that was
lines.
about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all of these stories about drunk craft beer nerds trying to escape beer festivals unscathed, what I love to do is to think about the taxi drivers and the stories they have when they get home. Like, there's another fucking craft beer festival. These people need to learn to handle their drink. There was a guy, he had a katsu curry. I don't know where it went, but he slaps his friend 5 times.
They must compare notes afterwards.
Yeah, they have to.
Honestly, it was fun times.
There's
What,
being hammered, and then there's what Owen was on that day.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sure-
it wasn't great.
Yeah, there's been some taxi rides, I think.
There has been.
I think
Yeah,
Owen's trying to move on here.
Oh,
I'm desperately trying to move on. Which session are you going to, Johnny?
I don't actually know yet.
Friday
They're one
is
of
the correct answer.
they're one of our sponsors. So we host the Hangover session at Bigfoot, their music festival, and we'll probably be there doing a live show. It'll be either Friday night or Saturday night, but we don't know which yet.
Oh, you're going to miss us then. We're there for the Friday daytime session.
Trade session.
Trade session.
When the real damage is done.
Mate, trust me, the real damage is definitely done in that session.
The true functional alcoholic session.
I don't.
Do you know? I'm pretty sure the Pressure Drop tap room's open on Friday nights. You could just keep going.
Yeah, you won't see me there.
Well,
Jesus.
I'll be face down in a katsu curry by then.
No,
you're still trying to eat your sushi though.
The main point of the story, Johnny, was the Cantillon survived.
Good.
That was
which
the
Cantillon?
key. That was the key. Which one was it? It was the
one that tastes like
really,
goat.
The really fucking expensive one. I don't know. It's still in the fridge. I'm drinking it.
Was the Richie Brooks not try it?
Yeah. Has anyone else got a commercial beer, or are we just going to sit here doing war stories for the next hour?
I'll drunk mine before
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, go on, Owen.
Okay. I said I'd add something exciting. We've been talking about West Coast IPA. I've got a can of Elusive's Double Oregon Trail.
IP.
Double IPA time. And it's an absolute banger. Super tasty. You've had one can of it before, but it's Chinook, Columbus, and Simcoe classic West Coast options. on the nose, like there's enough bitterness to make your nostrils sting. But it's not too crystal malty at all. Really light and balanced. Does not drink at 8% at all. On the nose, you kind of get like obviously a lot of pine, and you get that real grapefruit pith thing. But it's super tasty, and that's all I've got to say. Move on. Thanks.
Cheers.
Can I just say? Can I do a little plug? Is that okay? So on Wednesday, at the Beer Merchants Tap in East London, I'll be hosting a all West Coast tap takeover,
Nice.
featuring some of the best West Coast brewers in the country, including Elusive, and we'll have double Oregon Trail on tap.
There you go.
Tricky, what are you doing?
I hope you enjoy it. Have you drunk it yet, Johnny?
No, I haven't tried it yet. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's a good one.
It's probably going to be a katsu curry and a bridge incident after a couple of those.
So
I
what
reckon
are your
it will
highlight
be.
West Coast or current West Coast beers that are out there, UK brewery wise?
So that is my commercial ad break. So
Burnt Mill.
Oh,
Get
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Jade.
get the Jade. I personally think these guys make the best West Coast IPAs in the country at the moment.
Which brewery is that?
Burnt Mill.
Well, I've actually
Bird
got
Mill.
an LP in the fridge from them.
New England or Westy?
MP.
Oh, MP. Oh, sorry. I mean, yeah. So they make amazing
Yes.
beer.
Yeah.
If
I think
you
it's
don't
good.
know about Burnt Mill, so the head brewer is a former maltster, so she knows her malt, and she's amazing at brewing. She's also gluten free now, which is kind of wild. So that's why their pale ale is gluten free. But anyway, so Get the Gold is a beer I had just as I was brewing, just before I brewed my West Coast IPA with Russian River, and it was so fucking good that I emailed Charles, who is one of the owners, to ask for the recipe of Get the Gold. I think I'm gonna blow your minds with this. I think, right? So I brought up the recipe while we were on our quick break, right? So 84% extra pale, sure. 6% Munich, 6% dextrin, 31% chit.
Oh, chip malt, yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So the second biggest malt in there is chit malt.
That's
I've
interesting.
never even
Bold.
used it.
Yeah, I've
Well,
used chip malt.
well,
It's
just,
it's a good alternative to carapils. It's less roasted, less kilned than.
Does it not
if
bring
carapils
body?
is even kilned. I'm not sure,
It's
but
supposed to bring body, which is why I was a
Yeah.
bit surprised the dextrin was in there as well.
yeah, that's all.
Do you have to chew that beer?
And honestly, it is not that full-bodied, and it gets nice and dry. OG's 1060 finishes at 1011, 6.6%. They use Flex, and then it's Sultana and Strata.
Oh, the Sultana's what?
Denali.
Denali.
Yeah.
That shit's.
And Get the Gold is second this year in beers for me to Alligator Tugboat, and Get the Jade is Nelson Sauvin, and it's like liquid passion fruit. It's jammy as hell. It's amazing. It's crazy good, and I've never used chip malt either, so I'm gonna give it a look. But
Yeah, check it out. I'm a big fan.
Come on, Ant, get your
I think
beer
it
open
just
then.
I think it just tends to add a lot less flavour.
yeah,
I
I mean there is almost no malt character. It's just crazy clean, like the tiniest bit of like stickiness from the Munich, and otherwise it feels like a Pilsner malt really.
yeah.
It's just all passion fruit and 60 IBUs of bitterness. 60?
Wow.
23,
That's-
43, 50, 60 IBUs.
Brutal. Like
It's
it.
so good though.
Tasty.
You're a West Coaster, are you then? I think we can safely say you're a West Coaster.
Yeah, I'm on a West Coast kick for sure, but it's a weird thing. Like beer writers and beer influencers, or whatever you want to call them, are constantly like dismissing styles, and I'm like, that is a deeply unhelpful position to have. Like, I don't think that you, as a beer somebody who is a beer influencing people around beer should be going pastry stout sucks, sours suck, Belgian beers sucks. Like, you can't inform people's opinions with negativity. You should be going, I'm going to educate you about this thing and you can make up your own mind. So when I see people doing stuff like that, it really pisses me off. So, there's lots of styles that I don't drink a lot of. Fruited quick sours are one of them. But at no point would I ever dismiss the people that make them or drink them. And we covered them lots because lots of people enjoy them.
Yes.
So I'm on a West Coast kick. I'm really into bitterness and I'm really into Czech lagers at the moment. But in a year's time, I might be back on the New England train. And
I think everyone's kind of, we went through that New England season and everyone's just after bitterness, I think, now again.
I think in our small little world we are, and it's each time it starts in the small little world. Like, we've got everybody fascinated by milds and bitters right now, and I think that'll expand out.
Yep.
And then while that's out in the mainstream again, something else will come along. People forget that, like, porter was the biggest style in the world for 150 years, and that went, and mild came in. That was the biggest thing for about 80 years. That went. Mild came along for 40 years, then pale lager came along, and we all think that New England's going to take over, or West Coast took over for 20 years in America.
Never gonna.
It's all going to keep moving. Everything it's like fashion.
It's still king.
It's the beer revolution.
Well, no,
beer revolution.
We went through a lager phase in the 90s and the noughties, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And then the 10s where the kind of craft beer scene really kind of started to kick off.
But, I mean, the impact was smaller than we'd probably like to think, and I still think that craft beer has a lot of growth in it if certain things would get out the way, like the fucking beer tie and temperance and all these things. Like in America, I think it's 1 in every $10 spent on beer is spent on craft beer. Here, no, I think it's 1 in every 5, but 1 in 10 beers drunk, because obviously craft beer is more expensive. And here we're languishing at about 2 to 3% because pubs can't buy the fucking stuff.
Yeah,
because we've got a monopoly.
Yeah.
The issue is, I used to work in a brewery, and once you get tied to a specific supplier, it's very difficult to get out of it. You can have guest beers, but that's never normally enough. It's problematic for, your standard corner shop or your standard corner pub to be able to truly express, even though the landlord or the owner may be a massive fan of craft beer and may really enjoy stuff from a local craft brewery, they can't put it on because they're tied to a specific, whoever it's going to be. And that's problematic. We're really lucky in Wakefield that we've got 2 or 3 pubs which they're not really tied to a specific brewery. One's called The Hop. They buy from all over the place. There's a few others. One of them's tied to Ossett, but it's not a unique tie-in. So they tend to have quite a few decent sort of guest beers, if you want to call them that. And we end up with some really, really nice beers in, which is genuinely, pleasant when you go out for a pint. But there's a real issue with that exclusivity clause that a lot of big breweries and big suppliers have.
I mean, people, this isn't at all about homebrew, but it's one of the big passions of mine. And we did Keep Cask Alive, a big series all about championing cask ale, which is ostensibly a way of supporting pubs, but not via stealth, just by something that we're very passionate about and trying to get people back into pubs, because cask ale is obviously pretty much exclusively available in pubs unless you've watched the Craft Beer Channel video and splashed out. But people don't realise that in fact, nearly half of the UK's pubs are owned by overseas investment funds in tax havens.
That doesn't surprise me.
They don't realise.
Sure, Wetherspoons is like that, is it not? You look at is it not? I'm sure it's like the Cayman Islands or something. When you look at the wee sheet.
So between Stonegate, Heineken / Star pubs, those two and like two or three others own 20,000 of the UK's 38,000 pubs, and they pay zero tax in the UK, and they only sell their own fucking beer. So that's half of the pubs out of the market for craft brewers, and then the other half
marvelous.
are Enterprise, Green King, Marston's, who also won't serve anybody else's beer except maybe one guest line. So that's about 20% of the rest of the pubs, which leaves 30% of the pubs untied, most of whom have done deals with Heineken, with AB InBev, to tie their lines, to get all their installs paid for, to get their technicals paid for. And, because they now own Beavertown, Brixton, whoever it is, they can serve craft beer without ever having to touch an independent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've got my high horse there. But, I mean, the UK beer industry is meta fucked. It is the most corrupt part of our entire economy.
Yeah.
It is utterly ruled by some rich fucking white men in the Cayman Islands who decide what you're drinking.
Johnny, never be scared to get on your high horse on this podcast, mate. I've done it a few times. This is the place where the truth needs to be said, and we're independent. We're tied to fucking no one. Say what you feel, man, because I agree completely with you. I do think that, I'm at the moment, I've moved on. I'm now drinking Small Steps DDH Pale. Right?
You've already drank your first commercial.
Three Hills Brewery. I have, mate. That was fucking excellent. 3 Hills Brewing, just not exactly massive. They're not exactly blowing the arse end out of the beer world. Cracking beer. If this was on at my local, I'd drink it. And that's what it comes down to for me. I don't want to go there and drink Stella. I want to go there and drink, I don't know, some fucking random beer that somebody with half a brain has come up with. Do you know what I mean? That's what I want. And stifling creativity and stifling an output for that creativity, it's the new form of censorship, and it's being done by investment from overseas companies.
I think there's a bit of a vicious circle at play there as well, isn't there? Where you limit choice to such a point where the majority of people going into the pubs, that's what they're expecting to be served, and they're not ready to branch out into different beers and craft beers, maybe, and maybe the craft drinkers are not going to a lot of these pubs for that reason, and it just sort of keeps that whole thing going. When I was at I don't know if you're aware of Brew Point, Johnny, who are the new version of Charles Wells, but I went to their brewery. They're obviously trying to go more down this sort of craft beer route to an extent, but it was quite interesting when they were talking to us on the tour about how they can't even put their own beers into a lot of their pubs because they just basically can't shift them. And you kind of think, well, perhaps this is an upshot of you maybe not giving people the variety prior to this, so that now there isn't, there's not people in there who are willing to switch from Eagle IPA to something a bit different or whatever. So
my local is a Wales pub.
Yeah.
And when I used to go in there, I used to drink Camden Hells. It was the only good beer that was on. And then Brew Point started pushing their beers out there to their pubs, and their beers are actually fucking good. I think it's an ex-Camden brewers doing it all. So they have a decent pale, a decent lager, decent stout as well. And so I was drinking that stuff, and we were sat near the bar, and I was like, fuck, this beer is quite good. And I saw 4 or 5 people come up and go, what lagers have you got? And they pointed to their own, and they pointed to Estrella they still have. And I didn't see a single person go for the one that's literally brewed by the company that owns the pub.
Yeah.
It was all the Estrella. And it's I don't blame the drinker. I 100% blame the culture that we brought up, which is stick to the familiar stuff, stick to what you because that's been the marketing operandi of these companies forever. It's been like weirdly, marketing for beer has never been drink ours, not someone else's. It's if you've drunk ours, please keep drinking it. This whole reassuringly expensive thing with Stella was never a good thing to get new drinkers in, because who's going to go, I'm going to pay more for my beer? But it meant that everybody that was already drinking it could suddenly go, I pay more because I like beer more. And it's better than Carling.
It was really interesting seeing that in practice, because they have obviously this massive market to all their own tied pubs, but yet most of their newer range stuff is still just sort of locked in the tap room at the brewery because there's no point sending it out anywhere. It's just not going to shift. So, but yeah, you kind of think, well, is that sort of a bit of a legacy of how the business has been run prior to that? I don't know, and how the business as a whole functions. So,
I think the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, Wells has its part to play, but obviously Wells, I don't know, they own 100, 150 pubs maybe, but Green King own
not
4,000,
a massive player,
Stone,
but
but they've all been part of that system, which has been crush the opposition by not serving their beer, and suddenly you wonder why people aren't willing to try.
The brewery and tap room's amazing as well. So yeah, if you get hit up by them to go for a visit, it's worth popping down.
I mean, I've thought about sending them a message because I was genuinely, the stout in particular was really, really tasty. Yeah, it's good beer, but yeah, you're right. It's those breweries are kind of responsible for where we're at some point, to some extent.
Yep.
Just before we jump down a rabbit hole of what's wrong with the brewing and pubs in this entire country, who hasn't done their commercial? Because we are literally 50 minutes into this commercial break.
I've not.
Go on then, Andy.
So I've obviously thought, Scottish, I'll go local. Bit of Williams Brothers, Caesar Augustus, which is a kind of, I thought, do you know what, Chris, I did this one for you because IPL. These guys, I think, were probably one of the early sort of IPL type came out with it.
I'm not allowed to call mine an IPL from ordered of the bearded one in the corner.
Yeah.
Is it a lager?
Yeah, it's super clean.
Has it got lager yeast or been lagered?
I think it's got lager malt, or it's definitely got, see the cracker bread. You get the cracker bread thing on the nose. It's quite golden and it's sweet, it's crispy, but it's got a big dose of bitterness, and it's got this kind of citrus zesty. But there's almost like I think, is it Goldens or Savinsky? Is it Styrian? Can't remember. But it just gives it a kind of more slightly peppery earth. No, kind of it brings it back to slightly more traditional, but it's definitely got kind of more citrus going on. It feels really kind of, at the time, and this was probably quite revolutionary. Maybe not now. It seems it's quite, clean and nice dose of bitterness. But yeah, so
that was one of the first beers we ever featured on Craft Beer Channel, Caesar Augustus.
There you go.
I think it was a Christmas episode. I can't remember why we featured it, but I remember being kind of bowled away by the crispiness, but also
citrus. It's like zesty citrus.
Yeah, zesty kind of character. Like IPL was not something that would have been 2014, 15, and it was a fucking great beer.
They're clearly not doing IPLs the way I do. That's all I'm saying.
Kvike yeast, 3 days, keg it.
I mean, pretty much.
Pressure fermenter.
Actually, no, because the dry hop tends to take 2 days. So,
Sorry.
5 days.
Johnny, being ridiculous.
I've got a question for you from the chat. Are you going to These Hills Beer Festival in Lewis in June?
The Beak one.
Yeah.
I want to. I think it's the weekend after Bigfoot. Let me check my diary. Yeah, it's the weekend after Bigfoot, which I'm there because I'm working. It's a family persuasion matter. If I can persuade,
if it influences you in any way, I'll be there. So
good to know. It's good to know.
You'll have a friend there.
I don't think that's influenced him in the slightest. There,
friends.
Right?
If you bring the katsu, I'll bring the imp stouts, and we'll have a wild time.
I might even bring my Cantian for you.
Ooh.
Do you know
which one it is?
Now he's interested.
I only come for Nath, for Foon, or higher.
If you do end up there, just look for the bloke that's 2'6" tall
I'll try and tell
and looks like a bollard with the bald head, because that'll be Brett, and he'll probably be trying to hump your leg or something.
This is another one of the boys.
I'm pretty sure I think it's the
I didn't want to make of any of that.
No.
Johnny, it's the Grand Cru Bracella.
Bracella.
Yeah, the Grand Cru Bracella, yeah.
The one
I'm
that
not
tastes
gonna,
the
I'm not going to
goats.
bring that. I'm not going to lie. I'm probably going to leave it in my fridge. So
I mean, Beak and the other breweries will provide enough tasty beer,
I
but
think they will.
I'm more likely to come now, or I'm more
You
likely
should.
to ask my wife and my daughter. I mean, my daughter doesn't really know where she is at any point.
Wait to
How
see.
old is she, by the way?
She may not. She may
she's-
not have an opinion.
Yeah. Oh, she's got opinions. There's stuff she fucking hates at 4 months.
Oh, mate, they do.
Yeah. She was at Christmas. Roundabout, was she?
Sorry, is that again?
So she was born, was it December, January then? Yeah.
Very end of November.
November.
Yeah.
Mate, I've got to say, congratulations and welcome to hell. Just wait until she gets mobile, mate. And then literally, I guarantee you on the day she becomes mobile, the first words out of your mouth will be, cry havoc, let loose the dogs of war.
No,
The world is about
I don't think
to
that's
end.
the first thing I'm going to say.
No, trust me, it was when my
Everyone
daughter
starts
got
going
mobile.
up the way.
Fucking hell.
It's all the stuff, all the ornaments or whatever. Everything starts climbing up.
My
Climbing
daughter
up.
got
I'd probably
mobile.
say.
Go on, Owen.
I'd probably say wait until you got 2.
Oh, mate, yeah.
Do you know, at this point, it's not a question we're asking ourselves, but I hear that's the usual approach. And then 2 years in, you're like, oh, I miss when they weren't mobile.
It'll happen.
No,
No,
mate,
two years in, you're so brain damaged by the sleep deprivation, you forget how bad it was, and then you have another one. That's how it goes, I think.
So my two, they play with each other now and keep each other entertained, and then you don't need to entertain them. So
Yeah, that's a myth.
It's a good couple of years to reach that point, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
7 and 4.
Beer gets you through, Johnny. So you're well positioned.
Yeah, you've got the full keg,
Got a
got the
good
keg
supply.
and all that.
Got a good supply, yeah.
That's it.
I'll be
Numbers up.
honest. What you need, like I've got, is you need a little brew buddy who actually comes up with recipes and says, "Daddy, we need to brew this." Literally, my son does that. He actually has a recipe called Aussie's Brown Ale because his name's Oscar. And he was going through one of my brewing books and he went, "Daddy, we need to brew this," and handed me the page. And I went, "I've got everything in for that. Come on, son, let's go and do it."
Amazing.
So we brewed it together, and it's Aussie's Brown Ale.
Did you get to have a little sip?
I can't comment on that, but let's just say
That's a yes.
I raised the taps on the kegerator. He developed a particular love for the last Impy Stout that I made.
Oh my lord.
Yeah,
wow.
That's one way to start him.
Watching a child fall asleep at 10 to 6 in an evening because they've somehow managed to climb on your chair in order
I
to
believe that.
take
as
a
well.
glass.
Yeah.
You've met Oscar.
Yeah, I believe that 100%.
He pushed the chair over, took a glass, and then basically poured me a beer after he drank some himself, which I thought was sneaky.
Right.
Not even mad, you're just impressed at that point.
I mean, I
Yeah.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
I was barbecuing, so, you know, somebody
Well,
needed to get me a
Sooner
beer.
or later, right, we're all going to end up being that cool dad that has like beer.
Yeah, we're all
taps.
destined to be cool dads. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I will never be cool.
It's
But
like,
yeah,
it's
You
gonna-
just get a
it's gonna
zip up
be-
hoodie and you're away. That's
That's
right.
I
I
mean,
understand
I
it.
can't.
Just
And to be
following-
fair-
following tricky stuff.
You don't have to cut up that one. Go buy it. Never mind. You
it's good.
branded.
Yeah,
Did everyone else get one?
yeah, we've all
Yeah,
got
Oh,
them.
okay,
they're
good.
just not wearing them. Missing a
I mean,
marketing
Brad-
opportunity, so, you know.
Brad makes great merch, but I keep forgetting to wear it. I just
On the subject of Brad, is Brad watching the podcast? I'm sure I
is
saw.
Brad watching this?
I saw a comment from the Craft Beer channel on
Oh,
the
that was me.
chat. Oh, that was you.
That was me. I took a quick while I had a moment.
Nice.
No, Brad will be out drinking with his friends
No,
because
He
he's
has
a normal
friends.
person.
yeah, he's a normal human
He
being.
has
on a
other friends.
Saturday.
I mean, genuinely, people cannot believe it, but he does have other friends, whereas I don't.
So he doesn't have kids then?
He does not have kids. No.
Yeah.
Is he? You said he's northern.
No.
Oh, normal.
Did I say that? Normal.
No, he said he's
Oh,
normal.
sorry.
Normal.
I
He's
was gonna
definitely
say-
not northern.
No,
If
he's
he's
very-
northern,
he's-
I'd subscribe right now. But
He's
you know,
from Brixton. He's very
I'm
much South
definitely
London.
not subscribing.
Ooh.
Then, I'm joking. I will. Anyway, everybody's done their commercial. That's probably the longest commercial break we've ever had in this podcast.
It wasn't
Like-
really a commercial break, was it? It was the
Not really.
commercial
No,
extension.
commercial rant.
Incidentally, this is highly recommended. I'm going to do a second commercial beer. This is really, really good. Small Steps by Three Hills is bloody lovely. I have to say, really, really nice. So let's jump into the meat of the matter, the things that really matter to our very small viewership. When you were setting up your brewery, clearly you got everything for note, but what was important to you when you actually set it up? What were the aims of trying to set up your own brewery? Were you aiming for like bling? Were you aiming for functionality? Were you aiming for, I mean, what were you aiming for? What was your aim when you set up your brewery?
Simplicity.
Wow.
So I moved out of London in July last year after 9 months of trying. And up until that point, I've been, during lockdown, running 2 businesses, my own personal one, a craft beer channel, and living with my wife in a 1-bed flat in which she also worked and does a lot of sewing. She's incredibly creative and makes her own clothes. And I was also homebrewing. So it was incredibly compact. So basically every time I used to brew, whether it was like for fun or for craft beer channel, I'd have to set up all my equipment, brew, pack up all my equipment.
Yeah.
And it would literally go into this we had a tiny loft space, probably the size, half the size of the studio I'm in now, in which it would go back in with like our tents and boxes and guitar stands and all kinds of fucking
and the Christmas tree.
And the Christmas tree, the fake Christmas tree, all that kind of nonsense. It would go back up there, so I'd have to get a step ladder, put it all back up. And it made brewing such a chore because a brew day, instead of being for maybe 4 hours, 5 hours and a beer, it meant it was you started at 9 and you finished at 6.
Wow.
And only part of that was brewing. So when I wanted to set up my own brewery, I was like, I do not want to have to ever break this shit down or ever have to set it up. So everything that I've done behind me has had that in mind. It's like I brew, I clean, I walk away.
Yeah.
So, the biggest thing, like the biggest extra thing that I did that you wouldn't necessarily need to do was the wet floor area. You can probably just about see behind me.
Yeah, you put tiles, didn't you?
Yeah, so basically I bought really thick chipboard and tiled that. I then drilled bits of wood to one end so it's at an angle. And then I put metal ridging on the edges and siliconed it so it was water sealed. So that now I can brew and indeed clean in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
I can dump hops just onto the floor if I want to. Although stupidly, naively, I didn't buy like entirely smooth tiles. So
you get stuck.
Yeah, exactly. So I can clean it all out and it's fine, but my tiles are slowly turning green underneath the fermenters.
I don't see a problem with that at all.
I mean, it's
antibacterial.
Also, that it's not going to cause any illnesses. Yeah. So yeah, it was all about not having to break down or set up. I could walk in and brew, could just grab myself out of that thing and just pretty much go straight in.
Yeah.
And I think that because I have a lot of hobbies. I have cycling,
are you a collector of hobbies?
Tennis. Yeah. My hobby is collecting hobbies.
That's my hobby.
So I was like, the biggest reason that I give up hobbies is the admin that has to go into it. So I wanted to just get the least fucking admin I could.
Yeah.
And I'd recommend that anybody does that because, any excuse not to do something you enjoy is to have to do something you don't enjoy. So if you don't enjoy setting up your brewery, cleaning your brewery, get an all-in-one system, get a wet floor, get a good space where you don't have to keep packing it up and put it there. Which is also kind of the impetus behind the studio as well, because I could have probably, and actually for the first homebrew video we did in this house, we brewed outside and then brought the fermenters inside to my dining room.
Was that the wheat beer?
Yeah, the wheat beer and the sour beer actually. So it's two of them.
Yep.
So that was in my dining room.
That was the one you were on, the S40, and it was obviously the G40 had finished ages ago, and the S40 was still going. It's still dark outside.
Yeah, it really was much slower, and it's crazy that they can make that kit for that price. Yeah. But when you put it next to the G40, you're like,
yeah, that's why.
Yep, this is a million times better. So yeah, I probably could have brewed in the house, but I was like, I need somewhere where I don't have to break this down at the end of any time.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and the wet floor has just been the best decision I've ever made.
You recommend it then?
Oh my god, it's so good just to splash away whatever you like doing, to hose it down, all this kind of stuff. Although, so with the Imperial Stout brew, you can't really see, but so I painted the whole thing with white bathroom paint, which I thought would be like splash proof enough. But when you're brewing an Imperial Stout, you've got a 1-to-1 mash, so you're like shoveling this fucking stuff to try and unblock the mash. And there was just Imperial Stout all up the fucking walls on Monday when we brewed. So then the sort of me, like Brad being like, I kind of need to get a train, Johnny, and me just being like, I haven't finished wiping down the walls.
Because you know that shit's going to be sticky if you don't.
Oh, it'll stain if I left it. Yeah, or it'll just be sticky. So so the next upgrade I'm going to make is I'm going to get either like just acrylic or stainless steel behind me along the walls, so that it's the same thing to clean as the brew house, basically.
Good shit.
Because I mean, also I've realized, I mean, this is basic fucking shit, but don't put your mash tun next to an electric socket, because like, I mean, I just can't believe I missed it, but just behind the Grainfather is 2 open electric sockets, which the Grainfather was plugged into.
Yep.
But for the first time, when I had a totally full mash tun, water flying everywhere, and I was like, that's an open electric socket.
Yeah.
So
it's not IP-rated.
Yeah. It's turned off. It's fine.
But it wasn't turned off. It was powering the fucking Grainfather.
I mean, that's a failure to prepare.
So, it was. Johnny, what you need to do is get one of those outdoor sockets with the IP cover on it.
Exactly
swap
that.
it.
So just going to swap that out before I do my next big brew. You know, it's fine when I'm doing 30 litres of pale ale, but an Imperial Stout, it was too close for comfort.
Yeah. Accident waiting for happen.
Exactly that, yeah. So, so yes, it's simplicity and permanence, basically, because I think that just makes doing your hobby much easier.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm super privileged because we got the Grainfather deal and I get this amazing equipment. If I hadn't had that deal, you know, the tiling cost me 50 quid, I reckon, including the chipboard, the tiles. The metal was actually more expensive than it should have been, maybe 70, 80 quid. But it's changed everything. The other thing I'd change is I'd raise my fermenters. So they're on the floor, but I should have raised them by maybe a foot, because I spent all of my time on my knees, like cleaning, putting G-clamps on and stuff. So that's the bit of simplicity I didn't get right. And maybe at some point I'll find a way. Be cool to raise it and then put like drawers underneath for storage or something.
So SS Brewtech you get leg extensions and it brings all the tanks up much higher.
Oh, that's such a clever idea.
That's only with the 1200 litre one that you've got though, isn't it, Andy?
No, it's both of them. So I've got a 7-gal Chronicle and a 14-gal Uni, and both of them have got leg extensions on them now. Because you can
don't
see
you need a ladder then to get in the top of it though? If you put them up
only
like
if
that.
you're Brit.
No. But it's great for CIP, because then what you can do is you can have a bucket underneath where the outport is, and then you can then run a pump system through.
I'm going to second Andy. Great for CIP. Do we want to tell Johnny about what happened the first time he did a CIP?
Do you know why that happened? I worked that one out in the end.
Because you're shit?
No. Tilt.
Is that what it was? The tilt was blocking the outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you fell in.
So what happened? There's a what was that? I was trying to flush out the hops out the bottom, so it was like obviously taking all the beer off and everything, and I was trying to clean it out, and So I put some pressure in it, and then I was trying to open it and then jab it, to try and get it to come. And then finally, I think I pushed some liquid in, and then I opened up the valve, and it just went, boff.
Oh no!
I was just caked.
The pictures were
yeast.
phenomenal, Johnny. They were
Yeast
phenomenal.
And hops, and I've got a couch in here as well next to it, and that was just splattered with hops as well.
It's such a legitimate brewing experience. The brewery Instagrams are full of people who had similar experiences.
It was a bad day at Bukkake. That's what it was.
How many grams of hops?
Oh, I'm sure it was a good 200 or so. A good dry hop.
Yeah.
I bet you smell amazing.
It smelled so tropical. It was unbelievable. But I was just, that where you're just in a state of shock, and you're just looking like, and
you're
it was
not
just
smelling like Wrigley's Fruity Chew for several days.
This is gonna take a while, but I'm just gonna chip away at this to clean it up. One of those, yeah.
Next question, and I think this actually applies to everybody in the group. I'd like us to go round robin style and actually talk about this one. But obviously, we're going to start with Johnny because he's our guest. What is the next beer style that you're going to attempt? Is it going to be something new, or are you just going to stick with the same stuff that you've been doing previously? Because honestly, I'll be honest, if you don't say Marzen next, I'm fucking leaving.
So you need to leave.
Yeah, see you, Chris. Bye then.
Get out.
So the actual next beer I'll brew will be the double New England with Cloudwater. But the next, for me, brew is probably going to be an elderflower pale.
Oh.
Wow. Hang on. I'm staying for this. Explain.
So I have been intending to, for a long, long time, to brew. I want to brew like a Taras Bulba Belgian pale with elderflower.
These two.
Are they elderflowery?
Yes, both of them have got elderflower in it. Yes. What do you call it? 7 Giraffes and Birds and the Bees, Williams Brothers, and it is amazing. They're so good.
It's such a wonderful flavour. I think particularly for Belgian beers, once you get that like soft clove banana spice kind of thing in there, but then
floral,
a really dry pale ale like Taras Bulba, I'll bring the bitterness down because bitterness and elderflower don't play that well.
Okay.
But yeah, so I want to brew one of those, and elderflower season sort of mid-May to mid-June.
Okay.
So I'm going to brew.
That's cool.
Is that likely to be a video feature for that one, or is that just for your own?
I think this one's because, like I said, like half of our audience aren't homebrewers, so no more than half of our content can be homebrews. So we have to be a little bit careful. So I think this year it's going to be the test batch, see if my idea works, and see how good foraged elderflower can be and whether I need to make. So I'll probably do 2 batches. I'll do one which is throwing the elderflower into the finished beer.
You're going to dry hop with elderflower.
You should tie up, Johnny. You should tie up with Williams Brothers because obviously they're well up in their elderflower.
Yeah, maybe next year I'll drop them a line and
well, if you come up with a good recipe, let us know because
I'll just let you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've done an elderflower wine,
I've done the wine, but I've never put it into a beer. But we're doing a mystery ingredient thing at the local Bedford Homebrew Club. And we drew lots of random stuff, and I pulled elderflower out of the hat, which was quite lucky because there was all sorts of horrific things in there that were options. Stuff like horseradish and all sorts of other things that really shouldn't go anywhere near a beer. I don't think anyone actually drew that one, luckily. But
those two, it's a golden ale and an IPA. So
doesn't Sriracha Ace just taste like horseradish?
Dill more, isn't it?
Dill's the famous. Yeah.
I hate dill as well. I'm a bit of a foodie as well, Johnny. So there will be some random food stuffs that I will talk about as well. So fuck dill, fuck that,
fuck dill,
fuck dill.
Yeah. Should we call that like the title of the episode? Just call it fuck.
They've got to wait 2 hours for the payoff, but when it comes,
the hook. That's the hook.
It's like a really good movie. You know, you get to the very end and they.
Is this the end?
No, we're not even close.
We've still got 2 hours to go, Johnny. Forget
Do
tennis tomorrow.
We've got yeah.
I'll text and cancel now.
Just do it.
To be fair, is your beer empty, Johnny? Because if it is, you need to refill.
It's getting there. Actually, something else needs to be empty. So
Well, go. Crack on.
I'll be 2 secs.
Yeah, crack on.
I'm going to join you.
Hopefully not.
Good move.
It's a bit of a walk.
So,
what was the question that was going round robin?
It was like,
what is the next style that you're going to make, Tricky? What
literally the next beer that I'm going to make, or the next unique style that I've not tried?
The next style.
Well, the very next one, I'm trying to work out whether I've actually done it before or whether it's a new one, but I'm definitely doing a New Zealand Pilsner next. Because I got a bag of the Nelson from Get a Brewed as well, which was also smelling rather superb.
It smells very skunky.
I suspect it was like the crop that has gone into all those really good commercial beers over the last year. But yeah, it smelled really good. So I was like, okay, I want to do New Zealand Pils, lots of Nelson in it, maybe a little bit of Ruaka as well, just to add a little bit of extra into the mix. So that's probably literally the next beer. I think I've done a sort of New Zealandish. I've definitely done a New Zealand-based IPA. I don't know if about a true New Zealand Pilsner before.
I'll be honest, Tricky, you brew so much I can't keep up.
I did a New Zealand Pilsner a little while ago.
Did you like your one? Was it good?
I went Ruaka and Motuaka.
Okay. Yes, actually,
really good.
Yeah. Now I didn't. Yeah, that reminded me. Actually, I didn't sort of treat it as a New Zealand Pilsner as such, but I did do a like a Mexican cerveza style thing over lockdown with lots of mochuica in it, I think, or maybe it was Wakatu. I can't remember. One or the other.
I think you were sat in your garden reviewing it, weren't you?
Yes,
with sunglasses on.
Yeah,
looking like a twat.
Yep, I was. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
but,
so good.
You definitely look like a twat. I can also.
That was on the thumbnail, you bastards.
Yeah,
it was. You looked awful. You look like you're really into Metallica. Too late. I can confirm that the Nelson is definitely quite.
Oh, Owen's got
skunky.
Something in his glass.
So what sort of?
That's my pale, which was Citra and Nelson.
Just going back to the new. Oh no, you didn't use the Nelson in your New Zealand Pils, did you? Or did you say you did?
No, I didn't use Nelson. I used Motuaka and Ruaka.
Yeah, because I keep playing with the recipe and sort of thinking, do I want to put loads in, or does it then just become like an IPA rather than a Pilsner, or dial it back a bit? I think it's one of those where it's quite difficult to work out where the balance point is because it's such a potent hop anyway. But I still want it to have a bit of that like crispy, nice Pilsner character to it. So I think like those kind of like West Coast sort of Pilsners and things like that, or IPLs where you're going quite heavy on the hops, it can be quite easy to just basically turn it into an IPA that you can't really pick up on that lager character from it.
I didn't dry hop mine.
Okay.
So I just kept mine. I think there might have been like a small addition in Whirlpool. Might not have even been Whirlpooled. I think I might have just gone like late boil additions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of kept very much more like the Pilsner kind of character to it without tipping over into that IPL or IPA
I was definitely thinking if I did go dry hop, I'd sort of limit it to maybe 30-40 grams at most or something like that. So,
yeah, I think to be fair, like, maybe that's even too much just to knock the edge off of what like is essentially then the lager characteristic of it. But yeah, I haven't experimented enough to say definitively worth experimenting with, but
anyway, so yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I'm very much along the lines of Tricky. I've been building a recipe in Brewfather over the last couple of weeks, and it is a L17 harvest yeast, pure Vienna for the base malt, and then it's got Southern Cross, Rakow, Motueka, and Pacific Gem in it. And that's going to be fermented out with quite a hefty dry hop of Motueka and, believe it or not, Southern Cross. That's my next particular style, and I'm calling it the twat style because nobody but an absolute twat would go down that route, and that's me. That's what I'm going for. I figured, based on everything that I've been drinking recently and every sort of style that I've been going down the route of looking at, Southern Cross is becoming more and more to the forefront of my sort of thinking when I've been designing beer recipes, but I've never really had the opportunity to go down the route of using Southern Cross in anything other than as a bittering hop. So there's going to be quite a hefty chunk of bitterness in this. I'm aiming for sort of 45 IBUs, but I want it to have that sweetness from the Vienna. I want it to have that good malt flavor, whilst at the same time retaining a lot of that lime character from using pure Antipodean and New World hops. But I want L17 Harvest purely so Tricky can't give me shit about it being a fucking pseudo lager.
You're doing the right thing, Chris.
No, I'm not. I'm doing it literally because I don't want shit from you. That's the only reason I'm doing it.
No,
you can actually call it a lager now, can't you? So
well, that's essentially where I'm going is Vienna lager, but purely hop with New World.
So it's like a New Zealand Vienna lager.
Yeah, essentially.
Put some rye and Simcoe in it.
Yeah, you should.
I'd rather chop my dick off, Tricky.
Fair. I'm next time I'm brewing is Dunkelweiss.
Get to fuck. You're gonna make a Weiss beer.
I'm gonna make a Weiss beer. Except I'm gonna do a Dunkelweiss and a style I've never made. But I kind of want it to be like reasonably chewy.
Oh, so you're gonna put like, I don't know, guaram gum or something in it?
No, I'm just gonna like probably mash it a little bit higher. And I'm just playing around with a lot of Weimar malts. Basically, I really want a depth of complexity to the malt bill that really gives me that proper like caramelized, touching on chocolate banana.
What are you going
vibe.
for? A Dunkelfester vibe?
Yeah, that's what I want to go for. And actually, that's one of my competition entries for one of the competitions I've entered.
Also, sorry to jump in on you, Owen, but based on a conversation I had with a certain someone a few days ago, I'm actually brewing another batch of persistently bitter to send off for a couple of competitions as well.
Nice. No, that would be good to see where that lands. And for the record, whilst we're confessing things, I have entered. In fact, I entered the BrewCon competition. Champion beer requires you to enter 3 recipes, one of which I entered persistently bitter. So,
hey.
Which I did, to be fair, quote you as co-brewer.
Thank you, man.
And I did ask you the other day, and you said it was all right. So
I'll give a toss. You go for it, man.
There you go.
That's a recipe for you, Johnny, for personal consumption, mate. Is my amber bitter recipe, my persistently bitter. It takes a while to calm down, but when it really does, it's a very, very complex bitter.
Would you put it into like best bitter range?
It is best bitter if it's above 3.8.
Yeah.
It's a good beer, that one. I'll stand by that beer. It's a good beer.
It's an excellent beer, especially on hand pull.
Mm.
It's an absolute banger.
I just fucking love that homebrewers have hand pulls now. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, we've all, apart from Chris, he had several hand pulls, gave them up, doesn't care for them.
I've still got several hand pulls.
The rest of us have got hand pulls.
I think he discovered the second-hand value of them and thought he'd just make a quick buck on eBay instead.
I made more than a quick buck, mate.
I know.
The other thing I regret about my setup is I didn't consider where to put the hand pull. So I've only done one hand pull beer since the best bitter. And I think the only place it can go is my desk.
Which is...
Johnny, are you genuinely complaining about having a hand pull just here whilst you're recording everything and going,
well, you know, I'm torn.
Come on, son.
Could be the end of me, you know, when they went at my funeral, when they go and it all went wrong for Johnny when the hand pull was right by his computer.
I don't think that is even a consideration.
It is a little bit of an awkward thing to fit into the typical brewery or sort of minibar setup, though, isn't it? Because my one's currently, and this was only supposed to be a temporary setup, is currently strapped to the workbench in my garage, and I was just like, literally got nowhere else that I can attach this thing. So it will go there, and I'll make a shelf for it, and like 8 months later, it's still there. But you know.
To quote one of the greatest
really like awkwardly stuck between my firm fridge and my Keezer, just like mounted to the wall in a makeshift kind of clamping system.
Well, that's what mine will end up as if I do move it. So I'm kind of like just avoiding that for the minute, to be honest.
Guys, one of the greatest films of all time. There's a fantastic quote from it that is very, very apt at this particular point in time.
It's better be,
and that is the Blues Brothers.
Oh.
And the quote is, if the shit fits, wear it. Just wherever it fits, that's where it stays. Why mess with it, you know?
It's hard to pretend that all those tools above the workbench actually are ever going to get used when there's a hand pull. You know, that's the problem.
I'm going to reach for the
Oh, whoops, I poured myself another beer.
Oh, it's a tragedy.
Oh man, like Stewie Prince was talking about 5 points earlier, right? Stewie's a friend of ours and homebrewer. He did the 5 points kit on his hand pull. It lasted 2 sessions.
I mean, Godspeed to him, but
Godspeed to him.
Stewie's a fucking animal, mate.
To be fair, when I brewed it, it lasted maybe 2 weeks and it was gone. And that's fast.
I mean, I think I drank my first load when I first got my hand pull. So I drink the persistently bitter in
6 days.
Yeah, I think it was something outrageous.
I
just blame the half pint pull that you've got to like. There's a lot of wastage, right?
There was no fucking wastage, Owen.
No, there's definitely
wastage. Put on those little drain valve systems in.
There was at least a 20% wastage in there. That's my argument.
Just to shout out somebody from the chat at the moment, Hughes Brews, Graham, is currently on a 5 points best this evening.
There you go.
the real or a homebrew version?
Homebrew version.
Yes.
This is the wonderful thing, right? We sit here and we wax lyrical and we talk all the shit that we talk. But the bottom line is, there are people out there listening to this podcast who are going to go, do you know what? I'm going to get a hand pull and I'm going to make this 5 points best and I'm going to smash it in fucking 2 days because you boys are all pussies. That's what's going to happen. And this is the amazing thing. If you don't like a recipe, you change it. You put it on a hand pull, it changes the beer. There's so many wonderful ways that you can go. And talking about wonderful ways that you can go, Johnny,
how do I want to die? Oh,
well, I mean, clearly that's by, sex, but
it's hand pull on my desk, actually.
That's a whole different kind of sex. How many taps have you got in your kegerator, mate? Or Keezer, or whichever one you've got?
1.
Okay, we're going to say you've got 4.
Right.
If
Okay,
you
we're
could-
gonna lie. Sure.
Hey, it's media. Everything's lying.
It's Hollywood.
I've heard Jamie Oliver's accent. He's
Wait, I
really
just
from
agreed to
Newcastle. So he's not really. But if you've got 4 taps on your hand pull, what 4 beers are you having on that hand? Sorry, if you've got 4 taps on your kegerator, what 4 beers are you having on that kegerator?
I'd have a Czech Pilsner, a West Coast IPA, a Best Bitter, and some kind of Belgian pale.
Wow, I mean that's a left field choice.
I think Taras Bulba is just one of the best beers ever, and I could never not drink it forever. I was torn between that and something big and dark like what I'm drinking. But if I'm honest with myself, the nightcap can go. You know,
Yeah,
you
I
usually
agree with
regret
that.
it anyway.
To be fair, having 4 beers on that are sessionable is always preferable to 3 and 1 you can have 1 of, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I would say the session IPA would, the West Coast IPA would not be sessionable. It would be 7% clawing at your fucking insides.
Owen's going 7%'s not sessionable.
Oh God, not when you're me. I mean, I think it depends on your idea of a session. Like I'd say a session is 4 pints, and you can hide that you're drunk.
Yeah.
That's what I think is a session, and you're not going to have 4 pints of 7% beer and be like, I'm okay.
No,
What?
you're gonna have one, and you're gonna be like,
You can have one and be a bit like,
Owen wouldn't even spill his katsu curry after 4 pints of 7%.
especially a pint.
He'd have just finished his cornflakes.
Got practice, though, to be fair.
So come on, Tricky, you've got 4 taps on your kegerator. What are you having on them?
It's gonna sound remarkably similar, but American Pale Ale. I'd go Pilsner. I guess probably a Czech Pilsner as well. Hefeweizen. And I'd go for a bitter as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd drink at your bar.
Andy?
I'm keeping it session strength too. I'm not going for an MP tap if you've got 4.
Yeah.
You can have that on the hand pull.
That's true. I'll just bottle that. That's separate.
Definitely need some sort of golden ale, pale ale type beer that's super fruity, easy drinking, 4%, 4.2, something like that. I would also then like a stout, like a dry Irish stout type, or doesn't have to be Irish, but a low ABV, again, 4% odd stout. Then definitely a lager. Now, it could be an IPL, or it could be a Saz lager. And then, what else have I got? Probably a West Coast IPA then as well. Something a little bit more, 5.6%, round about there, with Amarillo in it.
Owen, feed me. What you got?
I'm going to go Prosecco, gin and tonic, tequila, just straight tequila.
Seltzer.
Yeah, and just fizzy water. No, I'm probably going to go like Czech Pilsner, hazy pale. It's so hard to decide.
It's so wonderful watching the pain on people's faces when you put them in a predicament like this.
West Coast, like something reasonably bitter, but probably more like West Coast pale rather than West Coast IPA. And then I'll go like super heavy hitting double IPA.
Okay.
Big, like hazy, juicy double IPA.
So I've got my session Hefe, Owen's passion fruit sour, Tricky's Olicana golden ale, and my rum and banana porter. Those are my 4 taps. If I had those 4 beers on, I could die a happy life.
What was that? That
And
goes.
you definitely will.
Yeah.
Oh, and was it? What was the one I drank the other night? Was your goes? Was that
Oh,
blackberries?
that was my triple fruit gozer.
Oh,
That was a really nice beer, actually.
See that a little bit of cinnamon in that, possibly.
Interesting. Avant-garde.
But it would be like it'd make it kind of like a crumble.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe vanilla rather than cinnamon. Pastry stout. No, pastry sour.
Pastry sour, yeah.
Pastry sour, yeah.
So it was, what was it? It was passion fruit, mango, and peach.
Oh.
Welcome to the experimental end of the Hop Edition podcast.
I've still got so much in the
that was the best.
Hit me up.
Beer share.
That was it almost reminded me of the Unity crumble one that they did.
Now, this is where we start getting shouts from the chat, and Thomas, our wonderful Norwegian friend, has suggested that there has to be an alt beer on the tap.
That is niche. Thomas,
niche.
I love your candor, but an alt beer.
Hey, don't diss the alt beers, Johnny. I had an alt beer on for 464 days before it kicked.
Yeah, because you didn't drink it.
No, I didn't drink it purely because I was doing an aging experiment. I was strictly limiting myself.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I got to get this in. He's
I
Swedish. He's Swedish, not Norwegian.
It took a year to come into condition before
It was
Yeah.
fucking. Hey, I'm not being funny. You bastards nailed enough of it when you came up to Wakefield.
It was a lovely beer. I'll give you that. It was
Thank
lovely.
you. Now fuck off with your beard.
I thought you would have the Merzen, Chris, on your tap list.
No.
You moved away from that now.
No, I love Mertzens. I do. I love Mertzens. But I don't.
I just want to say I love alt beers as well. So it's just such a left field choice, you know.
But they're a great beer.
To drink that all the time.
No, but you wouldn't.
versus like a Czech Pilsner or a Bavarian lager, or
if I had the choice between a Czech Pilsner, a Bavarian lager, and a Märzen, I'm taking a Märzen every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Probably 4 or 5 times if I'm barbecuing, I'll be honest. That's not even a choice for me.
Yeah, I mean,
he's got the astounded look on his face.
No.
Literally, he's a meme at the moment.
Do you know what? The look on my face was, do I point out that Märzen was pretty much the original Bavarian lager, or do I not be that guy? That was what was going on in my.
You're stabbing me in the heart.
You're that guy now, Johnny.
But I mean, I fucking love Märzen's. It's weird. Like I used to work for Cave Direct to import Paulaner, Hackashaw, Augustina, all these amazing German lagers. But I've always been a Czech beer lover at heart because I love the sweetness and the bitterness kind of intertwining, and I love Saaz, which I just think is the best European hop.
It's so good.
And so much better than any Hallertau you'll throw at me.
I actually like you a lot more now. Saaz is a fantastic hop.
Oh, so spicy.
The ultimate beer experience I think I've ever had was we were taken out by Pilsner Urquell to go see the brewery, and for some reason they allowed Mark Dredge, who was running the tour, to take us to other breweries. And so he took us to a brewery called, sadly now defunct, called Kautska na Sumave, or Kautska Pivo as they advertise themselves. And it's just in the middle of a forest. It was literally had bullet holes from the, I guess it must have been the War of Independence from Russia, maybe. I'm not quite sure. Or maybe even the Second World War. And we got attacked by Alsatian dogs when we arrived. And the brewery was basically held up by scaffolding poles. But it was the best lager I've ever had. They had these big lagering tanks, like tens of them in a row. They poured them out into pewter jugs, and we just drank from pewter jugs, from liter pewter jugs. And their hopping rate of Saaz was just something stupid, like
Ridiculous.
10 11 grams per liter. And it was just fucking nectar. It was like drinking. In my head, it smelled like strawberry.
Oh shit!
And I've never looked at stars in the same way. And it's why I put 200 grams of it into my Pilsner. I was like, if I put enough in, maybe I'll get that kind of character.
Yeah. Was that you were like pursuing that experience?
That's what, when we finally do this video, the lager video, we still don't know who we're collaborating with. We've got a couple of options, but that's what me and Brad are going to try to emulate. We've got all this footage of me and Brad. It's our first time to the Czech Republic, and we're literally walking around this ruined brewery with pewter jugs going, I've never had a beer this good.
What about, Johnny, is it pellet that you used, or is it leaf?
I used pellet for bittering, whole cone for Whirlpool.
Okay.
Because I really like a little bit of gnarliness in my lager as well. So I wanted every bit of oil I could find.
So this brewery that you visited, were they using pellet or whole cone?
See, this is all shit I didn't ask, you know?
Because surely if they were using whole cone at like that rate, they wouldn't have any beer left. Surely, like it just would have been.
Well, I mean, let's remember the brewery went out of business. So
that's probably using leaf.
Yeah, I mean, so Evan Rail, who's an amazing beer writer, he's American, but he's Czech-based. He wrote a book about the brewery. It's called The Brewery in the Bohemian Forest. He'll probably know what the hopping rate was. I'm probably exaggerating because it's in my memory. He'll remember what like the hopping rates were, what hops they were using. I'm sure they had hop selection, so they were selecting their fields and this kind of stuff. But like stuff that I took away was just like, you know, long lagering times. Their 12 Plato was the one that I absolutely loved. And that had, how did it work? Their 10 Plato was 3 months. Their 10 Plato was 3 months. Their 12 Plato was 6 months. Their 14 Plato was 8 months. And they had a 9-month aged 18 Plato dark lager that was like Coca-Cola with strawberries in. It was just... I've never had a beer like it and never have since. So yeah, I need to tap up Evan. We'll probably, as part of the video, we'll interview Evan because he literally wrote the book about them, and see what kind of recipe knowledge he has.
It'd be interesting to know like where the brewers have gone subsequently and whether they've just been eaten by Alsatians or.
It's possible. Possible. It's the most like I encourage. I'll try and find the link. Maybe you can put it in the show notes of the actual podcast. But so we did a video there. It was very hurried because we didn't even know where we were fucking going. Like we were going down a dirt track in the back of a minibus. We were there with Michael Kaiser, who owns Good Beer Hunting, Jeff Allworth, he's a great beer writer on the West Coast, and we were all like, Mark, where the fuck are you taking us? None of us having any inkling of where we were going. I think Good Beer Hunting eventually did a feature on it written by Evan, but I think so. We got this one great shot of the brewer who was like a 50-year-old man in a wife beater with a cigar, telling us about these beers while we drank it and ate just sausage on plates. And he stood there with his arms folded like this. And we realized that behind him on the wall was a full-on oil painting of him in a wife beater with a cigar with his arms folded. So we've got this amazing shot of him.
Classic. That's classic.
Got an oil painting of him in a wife beater.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the best bits of footage we've ever got. So I'll find the link to it, and then you have me and Brad and Evan. We interviewed him there, like losing our minds over how good it is.
Yeah, that's on the channel, isn't it?
It's on the channel.
Yeah, I've watched that. Yeah,
I've
definitely seen that.
Right.
It's would have been
Guys,
a very proper feature.
This has been almost 3 hours of just absolute brilliance. I've really enjoyed this podcast. Johnny, you're fucking awesome, mate.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
Good guy.
So, are you going to join us for the after party for a few minutes?
Well, after this,
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been up past 11 for 4 months, so fuck it. Let's do it.
Right then, guys, I have to say that
Party
I
time.
have really, really enjoyed this, and I hope that we've moved away from some of the standard questions that you get when you're asked about beer and stuff. I think that this has been an absolutely brilliant podcast, and you're a top bloke, I have to say that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us, because it's been a real pleasure. And I'm going to stick some links into the YouTube chat and into the Facebook chat for anybody who wants to join us. I imagine that you're going to have some people come in and ask you all kinds of crazy questions. We've already had one, which is when Brad gets home, and if this is still going, is he likely to join us a few sheets to the wind?
I'll text him now. I'll say, "Hey, bud,"
because this would be brilliant. Guys, if you've got any more questions, I mean, the 5 of us are in this chat. If you've got any questions to ask Jonny, now is the time, because I want to just move this to the after party so that we can properly get loose and I can have a couple more beers. It's been amazing. Thank you very much. And episode 42, I want to say it's in the bag, but what have you guys got to say?
No, it's been great. Really enjoyed this one, Jonny. Thanks.
It's been awesome. Cheers, Jonny. And thanks for coming on.
I've got one last question. See at Brad's house, there's this like kind of microwave thing that sits in the wall. What is that?
That is the most common question we get. It's a heater.
FAQ.
Oh, brilliant!
It's a heater with a fake flame. I've just got a reply from Brad instantly. I said, "Dude, what are you doing right now?" He said, "In bed." I don't know whether that's could be up for something or whether that's fuck off. Maybe a bit of both.
Just send him the link and see what happens.
No explanation. Just click this. See what happens.
Click this, enter the password.
Click this, come and speak to your people.
Amazing.
Cool.
Right then, the link has just gone into the YouTube chat. I will put the podcast in a second. Guys, let's just call a halt to this one. Thank you very much for joining us, Jonny. It's been superb. Episode 42 is literally in the bag. See you later, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's all right.
Right, there we go. That's the recording stopped. I will now put the password. Oh, yeah, it's that one. And,
Sleep that part.
that right? Have I got that right?
Yeah, don't instantly delete the audio for the last 3 hours, anybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait there.
That's what I'm doing first.
Deleting the audio.
Yeah, no,
Export.
don't delete the audio.
Oh.
Don't delete the audio.
Right, guys, the password's gone in. So if you want to join us for the after party, click the link, enter the password. I'm not even going to bother putting it in Facebook because I don't actually think we've got anyone on Facebook at the moment.
Is that right?
Yeah, we've got one actually. So paste there, and it is under. There we go. Right. So there we go. We're in. We're ready for the after party. I'm going to end the streams. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. That's been absolutely brilliant.
So
Catch you all later. Ta-da.
Bye.
So there we go.